Right.
So they couldn't move around. They couldn't, but that's where they were like heavily. They were easily able to get there, but they couldn't like expand there quickly because it's just crap. Everything's
Isn't volcano soil very fertile?
They need the biotics.
But they need organic matter, not just.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
isn't that good for soil?
Isn't that where the new kingdom state is going to be? It's not said where they are, but
slightly north of there, because they were in the Amaranth Vale, because it's like if you look at the map, like, well, I guess so the Elenark is all the way on the west, and it's on the northwest corner basically of the Amaranth Vale. The Amaranth Vale is gigantic, like it's like it's basically this giant place where it's like, okay, Ceres is in there. But like in the books, they talk about like it's largely unsettled, like kind of like Calderon Valley. They were sending, Stedholts out there and stuff like that, and they were still trying to like build it up and whatever. But yeah.
Maybe I just missed it in the book, but is it specified where the kingdom set up their state?
Yeah, it said it at some point. We'll get there. We'll find the line in the book when we get to the end of it in 3 hours from now.
Spoilers. Yeah. We're not going to do 2 parts.
I don't
want to try and stick to one.
We should try to do it in one and see if we can.
So and then next time we could just talk about everything.
Yeah.
Are we secure enough we can make the announcement now?
I think so. We've confirmed. Okay, we can announce it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, so officially, theoretically, it's still not, I wouldn't say 100%. I'd say like 95%.
Showing up anyway.
Basically... Yeah, we have confirmed Jim Butcher is going to join us remotely on the 21st of October.
Wait, you didn't invite him to your house? That's rude.
Yeah.
Well, he's out of state.
Of course I invited him, but if you do it more than once, you're kind of pushy and, But yeah, so he's traveling, which is why it's not like 100%, because you know how that goes and stuff like that. And October is kind of a busy month for him for birthdays for some reason, So, but we're going to be specifically trying to focus and talk about Codex Alera and everything. So that's why we've kind of been on a sprint. So when you guys are like, hey, don't kill yourselves, there's more weekends, we're like, not really, because
we had a schedule. We had to, like, when he accepted the invitation of like, yeah, okay, we'll do this, it's like, fuck, now we need to like know when we're doing it and have like time frames, and we're gonna stick to and keep up on the homework, and everyone needed to fucking read. Just like,
okay, we read.
What do you want? Children in her classroom, like,
well.
Yeah, seriously. She came up with this fly-by-night idea, then it got accepted. It was like, oh, fuck, we got to do things now.
Right.
That's literally my reaction was like, I saw the email first thing in the morning. It's like, fuck, now I have work to do.
Yeah. You're welcome.
It's been great.
You're
I'm
all
excited.
welcome. So.
You're welcome.
See, this is what happens when you get Justin into new things. Apparently, we go all in on the new thing.
It only took me 8 years.
Yeah, well, you're welcome.
Have you even gotten through the Lord of the Rings yet?
Has it been that long? Like, not that we've known each other, obviously, but like for Codex Alera.
Yeah, I think one of the early conversations at some point was like, oh, well, did anyone read Codex Alera? And then there's people having like snooty opinions of like, oh, no, I stick to only Dresden. It's why not? I just like, come on, read the thing.
That's me.
Yeah.
But now you have a new favorite character, so you're welcome, E.G.
Listen, that's fine. There's plenty of good characters in this. This is a good story. I'm glad it's over, and I don't need it to continue. And I don't need to read Aeronauts Windless either.
I would love more stories in the world, not necessarily where we are now, but
yeah. After Dresden, he can do what he wants. Until then, I don't want to hear anything else about any other stories.
But isn't he the most productive when it's 2 books?
Yes.
Or 2 series?
Write 2 Dresden books at a time. That's good. That works.
2 series.
No.
Yeah. He says he needs the time off, which I get. So we get more out of him if he's got time off into other things. And it's also a good series. And guess what's going on the schedule?
What?
You're gonna have to read it. So
exactly.
Have you met E.G.? He's not gonna read something he doesn't want to read.
He'll read this, though. He'll complain about it the entire way, and he'll still have it memorized. So
you read some of the Locked Tomb because I said so. That's how far I can go. And this is going to be more enjoyable for him.
I was going to say, Jesus Christ. I had successfully memory hold those.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Oh, did you read just the first one, or did you get?
No, I read the second one too.
The second one, dude. That's
the one that was in second person.
Yeah, that was. I
couldn't even get through that one.
Oh no!
Yeah.
You should.
My brain works like a lot of human brains in the sense that I chaffed all of the bad stuff. So I was like, oh yeah, that series wasn't that bad. But there's still that one sane part of me in the background that's like, don't you fucking read them again? What's wrong with you? You know? So
you know better.
The second one was the third one I enjoyed.
So weird.
I like the third one.
I might reread them when we finally get part 4, out.
I won't. I will read part 4. I will not reread.
Yeah. Okay, we don't have time to fight this.
No, we really don't. So, okay.
Highlights.
All right.
People eat Croach. The end.
Yes.
It's pretty good. So we open with a lot of people in a lot of bad places, and we start with a new point of view character, which is Invidia Aquitaine, or Invidia something, because she may or may not be of Aquitaine anymore. It was considered dead.
No, she did. That gets resolved like halfway through.
Yes,
in a very
divorces
fun way.
later. So
but it's in progress. It might be like taking. We'll get there.
Just because she started the paperwork doesn't mean that it's official until the 7th.
Oh, he had to serve her. He was very specific. The Senate required him to serve her the papers.
Exactly.
Like, does she have to change her name? Can she change the name in the beginning, or does it have to wait to the end of the paperwork?
I think she can do what she wants since no one's really talking to her.
Yeah.
She cannot do what she wants because she's like the puppet of the Vord Queen at the moment. Yeah.
Yes.
She's in a foreign nation, so she has to follow their laws now, I think. So
they barely
have a name. Queen probably said, "You want a what? Because you what? What? Fine, whatever. Get out of here."
We're gonna have dinner and play with dollhouses, and those dollhouses are real people.
Right?
Yeah, because the Vord Queen doesn't understand families or connection or the reason people have babies. Okay, so the idea of propagating a species makes sense to her, but like, why does the mother care about the child in pain? And so she picks up a 2-year-old boy from the mother's arms and is like about to snap his neck. And Invidia's trying to explain the concept of love, of like they feel love for each other. They want them to be happy. It's back and forth. It's reciprocal. It is rewarding on itself for that thing. The Vord Queen just doesn't get it, except. Then she says she loves her own children too. It just
that's what she wants to understand, right? Because she loves her own children and she's not supposed to. But she wants to understand why. So she wants to understand why humans do it, because she's defective.
Right.
Which, to be fair, anytime your teenage daughter would call you that, I think that would probably lead to a fight to the death at the dinner table, but in just normal human terms.
Yeah, the knives would definitely come out at that point. So
you're defective.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot because it's a very unvord like reaction, right? Like if they're as robotic as they seem, and everything like that, she really should just like lay down. But instead, she decides to break all of her children until she can figure out what's wrong with her and them. And it's just like, okay,
Yeah, it's an interesting conflict for this character. Is really scary.
Well, and it's really good because otherwise they would have won. So
fair.
Yeah. Well, and it's better in a lot of ways than, say, the Outsiders. I mean, granted, they have personalities and there are aspects of them that we'll probably delve into more, but like they are much more efficient in the way the Vord would be if they were operating under normal circumstances, because they're just like, no, we got to go. We're doing this.
Right.
You might make me angry, but I'm still stomping on you. I'm still setting your island on fire. I'm still blowing the world up. Nothing has changed in the plan.
Right. True.
So this dollhouse that the Vord Queen has is a steadhold of people that she has growing food and kind of just for examination. And then she's curious, like, why do they all gather together and have dinner? It's like, it's the things people do to have relationships. And so after nearly killing a child, she says to Invidia, we're going to have dinner together tomorrow night. Invidia's like, oh, fuck, this is the most horrible thing that could happen since there was a creature shoved into my chest to keep me alive from that fucker Fidelius.
I thought she does kill doesn't she snap the infant's neck?
He snaps his neck.
No,
He does snap his neck, but not enough to kill him, so he can be watercrafted back.
Yeah.
I thought it was
That's
just
considerate.
a snapping motion. Like she came up short of actually killing him, but yeah.
As I remembered it was like the neck was like snapped, like the head was like really far to the side or whatever.
Yeah,
but
it was hurting him.
But she could sense the child was like still alive.
Right.
So then we get to go to Varg, who is on the boat, the True Blood, as they're sailing back towards Alera, and he has his own political problems with the Ritualist, who is named Crawl, that we forgot his name last time.
I thought it was a little comical that we got rid of the backstabbing senator, we got rid of the political ambitious Ritualist. Well, we still need some for the story. Here are 2 new ones.
Also, those people are just everywhere. You knock one down, another one pops up. The ambition is everywhere. They're going to be in all of those positions.
Varg even addresses that, right? We can't get rid of him because then somebody else is just going to take his place and be a new pain in the ass,
Yeah, but not a pain in the ass right now. Though. That's what I guess.
Yeah. Look, it's the old adage: better the pain in the ass than the one that you don't, right?
Listen, he gets dealt with in a very fun way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes, we'll get there. Varg has to beat Crawl a little bit of telling him like, no, you are not going to do anything wrong to the Alerans because they are helping us and blah blah blah. And then I think is a very fun moment of Nosog walks in and Varg says that Crawl is ready to go back to his boat now, but Crawl is not quite able to walk. So Nosog just picks him up by the ankle and drags him out because he's ready to go. It's his fault for not being able to walk.
Oh, because he, threw a textbook at his throat and didn't quite crush it, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yes, the description of the book, and then it might have been the writings of Julius Caesar. Yeah. It's like, if this person had actually told the truth, that's interesting.
Is there a known book from back then that this was specifically referred to tactics and stuff, I guess? I don't know.
I think lots of Julius Caesar's writings would have been around during the time that the Legion disappeared, the Ninth Legion.
Oh, he was a big writer because that's how he got his. That's half of how his reputation is because he was a really good writer, and so his, even his failures, like in Britain and stuff, like they came off as good.
Yeah,
I was just wondering if there was like a very famous text of his back then that there would be most likely that this is the one that was brought over with the Legion.
Well, his general, his memoirs or whatever, they were pretty well known, and even before he died.
Yeah, we got 1 vote for 3 hours. All right.
Oh hell yeah!
All right. Yes, but Varg was not quite used to Aleran books because they are small and it strains his eyes. But it was a pretty good throwing item, so it's good.
Grandpa needs his bifocals, so that's how I took that.
It's 900 years old. Yeah. When that age you are, you'll need bifocals too.
Yeah, thanks, Yoda. So
you're welcome. All right. And then Aaron has a meeting with Raucus and Antylos, Antylos, Raucus, and Aquitaine. These names are going to get confusing.
Right. Basically, just his perspective too, right? Again, so that we can see what the First Lords are doing, basically.
Yes, they're trying to retreat into the corner near Calderon or Reva, because garrison, that's everything where it is going to be more secure. And Aaron walks in, basically picks up green sand and just starts pouring it over the war map of like, here's how much it's going and here's how bad it is. And Aquitaine is saying like, we need to have every single High Lord and citizen and everyone all join up at once on the Vord Queen when we can get her to expose herself. And Raucus is going like, you need all of that for one person? It's like, yeah, because it's the Vord, the single one. You kill her, everyone else stops.
Right.
Because he's not an idiot. That's the problem. As a bad guy, as an opponent, he's not an idiot. He gets it. Mm-hmm. And he's still also calling himself the First Lord because Gaius sent a letter to Aquitaine adopting Aquitaine as Tavi's younger brother. So if Tavi doesn't return...
Right. Which is a really clever way of doing that, where it's like, look, he's my heir, but in lieu of that, like
he's on vacation, so you can watch the house.
Yeah, right. So he very clearly set up the line of succession so that there hopefully wouldn't be a power struggle and whatever.
Yeah.
But
no one knows if Tavi is alive, even though Isana is certain that he's alive. And so he's calling himself First Lord. There's no sorts of crowning or whatever. And then there's still this like thing that people don't really want to say, but everyone knows, is that his ex-wife, sort of to-be ex-wife, is working with the enemy. And it's all very uncomfortable, but he's kind of very frank about it all. And Aaron suggests that they start burning the land behind them as they were retreating, because if you get rid of the organic matter, then the Courtship has nothing to grow on, and it makes it literally harder for the Vord to expand. They're destroying the roads behind them so that it can't be used by the Fury crafted boards or anything like that. It's hurting themselves to hurt the enemy, but it's necessary. Even though it's like terrifying for them to start doing that, because they're also running out of food because they haven't been able to farm correctly, and also because everyone's fleeing and the farmland's being taken over by Courtship.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody's hemming and hawing because it sounds terrible, but it is exactly the right thing to do, because, as near as we know, the Vord aren't doing any farming. Right. So you're hurting them more than you're hurting you, because if you leave that behind, you're just leaving behind food for the enemy that you didn't need to. It's not like by not burning it, you're going to magically be able to get those crops later. The Vord are going to consume them into the Courtship, right? But also, because the way farming works, you're leaving behind fertile soil, theoretically, if it doesn't get covered up by the Courtship, because we don't know what that does to the soil. But, it's like you can just come in and start planting crops. And in a season, you're going to have some really cool crops because you have all this fertile land you've left behind. It's not like you salted the earth while you were burning it. That's when you're really screwed. But
I suppose they could with the Earth Crafters.
Right.
No, they got to save the salt for the Wind Furies.
That too.
But no, I mean, that's a great point, though, because, the Earth Crafters could salt the earth, but then they could just undo it later because they're Earth Crafters. And
they can use that for the Wind Furies. Yeah, this makes sense.
And you put some on the Courtship, and maybe it makes it taste better.
Right. Yeah, Courtship sucks, but Courtship with salt. 4 out of 10.
I mean, given the choice between the two, take the salt.
I don't know if salt it just enhances the natural flavors. If I need more of that, so maybe Courtship with dirt, or something.
Something to cover it.
Yeah.
So we see Isana briefly as she's going towards Calderon Valley, and she has Varatus with her as like her main admin assistant and friendly, happy friend of watercrafter and anything. And Isana is very confident that Tavi's alive, even though she's also scared witless about it. Varatus is still very unhappy in the fact that her family has been murdered by Vord, but she's still very competent. And she says things of like, they're talking about how to protect against the takers, and there's things about disease and help the camps of all the fighting. And they have some money from the Dianic League that they're going to spread around. And Isana, in her position as First Lady of Alera, gets to decide these things. But Varatus is like, I already made the papers for you, and they already have your signature.
Yeah. Yeah, she did a very Tavi kind of thing where, it's like, well, it sounds like because doesn't Isana be like, well, what would you do in my position? She's like, well, I do this, that, and the other thing. Okay, so what do you need me for? Well, I've already prepared the paperwork. We just need your seal.
And already sent them off to people, and they're already working on it. But they're
already in triplicate. We just need you to say that you nodded.
Yeah, right.
I've definitely been the person like Varatus before in my job. If someone just doesn't have the time to pay attention to something that needs to happen, is I just, here, approve this, go on, stop caring about it.
Right.
We'll post date it.
Yeah. Yes. And they're talking about the preparations in the Calderon Valley because Bernard knew what was going to be happening, has been talking to Tavi through letters, and there's this just foreshadowing hint of everything that Bernard and Amara have prepared, and they don't outright say anything about the mules, but we'll get there. But just like there's one bastion left of safety for all of Alera, and it's in that corner of the country.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly how they present it, but like everybody else is rallying at Aquitaine, right?
They're not down at Aquitaine in the country. They're rallying with Aquitaine, the dude that's going up towards the Caldron Valley.
There's still the one city before.
In
was
Rivia.
it Aquitaine that they were at, or was it a different one?
Rivia.
Was it Rivia?
Yeah, which is
right. You're right.
Yeah, so north of Aquitaine, just a little bit west of Caldron Valley. It's the main focus nexus of the roads right before the Caldron Valley. So they're at Reva,
right?
Because it's the last place to go before Caldron.
Right.
All right. And now we get to see Tavi back in school, learning everything that he wasn't able to do as a child.
Yeah, but this is like Justin DeMoran's School of Flight, so yeah.
See, at least Alera is much nicer in her words, even though she does not necessarily help him with his broken bones, or it's still a very painful lesson. He's trying to fly.
No baseballs were involved,
There's a cavern built into one of the ice ships, and he's using that as a place to practice in secret, and is trying to gather the wind furies and fly, but it's not just like simple thoughts of up and forward, it's up and up forward, and he has to do that to every single fury that's being called to him, and there's hundreds of them all at the same time, and it's really, really hard, and he keeps falling in snow and ice or water and breaking bones, and then he needs to watercraft them, set them himself. Very taxing.
I mean, to be fair, he's doing all the damage to himself. It's not like anyone's throwing baseballs at his head.
Yeah, it's very true. And then we also
to beat himself up and then get scolded by Katai, and like it's just like
Katai just leaps out of the water, completely able to handle her own fury crafting perfectly fine, because she's far better at it than him, and is like, I am told that I am your whore. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, the Mistress Simnia of the Tribune Logistica, that was also the madam of all of the whores, as described.
Being ever helpful.
Absolutely. Right. Thanks, Tribune.
Yeah. Let's just say some Venn diagrams were made, and there was a disturbing overlap where Katai was concerned. So,
Yes. There are people who are highborn, and they often fool around with ladies, but that's not necessarily the one that they're going to marry. And he's been with Katai for years, but there's been no marriage procedural anything according to any form of Alerian tradition. And Katai learns this, and she is outraged. Does he think that he's going to take another woman? And she's actually scared about it for a second. And he says, no, of course. It's like, oh, so you just didn't think I deserved marriage.
You just assumed I was going to marry you? Flips on it.
Right.
It flips on a dime. It's like, wait, you're going to take someone else? Wait, you thought I was going to marry you?
It's very that anime trope to Sundrea, how you say it.
Tsundere?
Like hot and cold. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It is a little.
Yeah. She's driving home this point of he has taken her for granted, mistreated her in at least some circles of point of view. And he never even asked things of what is the Marat marriage procedures? How do you do that? Anything. And he never asked. And how dare he not ask that when he's trying to make friends with Vord, and he didn't ask how, ever go talk to Daroga of what do I do to treat your daughter correctly?
Right. He's been a little busy, but no points for running the world. So yeah.
Got to take time for romance.
He does ask Alera for help for a second, and she says, I have learned enough to stay out of this. And I
know from your customs who I'm supposed to side with.
She's literally billions of years old. She's not stupid enough to fall for that. Come on now.
Well, he said you're siding with her because she's a girl. Yeah.
I know who to side with.
Also because she's right. But
yeah.
Hoes before bros, man.
Let's see. But Alera is also able to provide Tavi with tons of information of what's going on the continent that they're about to get back to, but he could not possibly have had that information anywhere else because there's been no spycraft able to happen from the boats to the land mass that they haven't gotten to yet. And so she's giving him updates of where the Croach is and what Antilus or Raucus and Aquitaine and everyone else are doing. Kind of that's how he knows the subjects of the letters, because someone else was talking about it. Or probably because that guy has told her. That makes more sense, actually.
Oh, yeah, either way.
But she also drops here that when all the Alerans are gone, it doesn't bother Alera at all because she's not bound to the humans. She doesn't care about them. She's kind of bound to Tavi's bloodline. But if she is serving Vord instead, it doesn't matter to her. She will do things equally.
There's a lot about her nature that seems very confusing, because it seems that Alera, the person, manifested after, great whatever grandpa made the map of Alera. Right?
I think it's the first.
And she's fading away because said map was destroyed. But at the same time, she's also billions of years old, and she will persist beyond that, even though she's sublimating, because she's a conglomeration of a bunch of different Furies. And so it's just a very confusing, like, Trinity situation where it's like she's one and she's many all at the same time. So she always talks about how incredibly ancient she is. She's dying, but she will still live, and so it's just
she won't even notice, because she's just going to go back to essentially her original state.
Right.
I mean, it's like this Last Shield thing, except obviously Last Shield is also a sentient entity of her own.
Sure.
As opposed to the more nebulous thing that Alera is.
Right.
But
yeah. So she's not a Gaia form per se. She's just like, it's like she's an interface for it, and they call her Alera, but it'd probably be better that she was called Karna, because, but they called her Alera because they think only Alerans can have.
They're selfish.
Yeah.
They're very narcissistic.
So, right.
Also, Alera sounds better than Karna, let's face it.
Yeah, but I mean, Karna makes sense because it's like the same root, it's just body, right? So
yeah, but Alera sounds prettier.
Sure. Yeah.
So Tavi goes to, back to work the next morning on a boat, and Maximus shows up and says, "Oh, wow, you look like shit. It must be hard to sleep in a cold bunk after being used to a warm one," because Max, of course, knew everything that happened between him and Kitai. Because, in fact, Kitai started asking Max
the best worst friend.
Well, I was going to say, if you're going to ask anyone about sex customs, Max is the one to go to.
Or the madam of all the prostitutes following the Legion. Yeah, both of those.
I mean, yeah, they're pretty much...
These guys are in good hands. They got a womanizer on one side and a madam of a brothel on the other.
What more do you need?
But she's gone legit. She's an officer in the army now, so don't go
in the army.
I was going to say, Roman encampments had their prostitutes following them around all the time. So you could have always considered them officers in the army if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
These guys really just like this is inadvertently turning into a dig on Jim, but I finally go look up the word Alera, and it just means eagle. These guys, like, everything they have is animal based.
Oh, I knew
druids.
That. Oh, sure.
I forgot that, but I knew that word.
Yeah. Yeah. So Alera means eagle. They curse the crows. Mules are their catapults. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
Well, they're pagans. What do you expect?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So Tavi, of course, annoyed by Max, says, "If you don't finish before I've drunk this, I'm throwing this mug at your head." He has a teacup. He is going to use it as a weapon. But Max is, of course, going to needle Tavi about all of this, because Tavi is like, why is she so upset? And like, doesn't she know everything because of the Chala bond? Of course, she knows that he loves her. Why is she worried about the customs?
But that's not the point.
Well, it's like,
don't ask me to explain it. I could just tell you that's how it is.
Right.
I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you.
Right. So Max is actually there to say, like, oh, Crass is going to be here, and then we need Magnus in the first period. There's going to be a big meeting, but here, let's talk about the emotions for a moment. Kitai has a point. By not following the normal customs of courting and relationships, as the Highborn do, she is now a point of his weaknesses that people are going to use as a weapon against Tavi and trying to be the First Lord. Because people are already doubting his birth and attacking Isana for it. Mm-hmm. And now he's going to, eventually, if they're going to put doubt on that marriage or that relationship of Marat, a barbarian, not an Aleran highborn citizen woman, they need to do things in the proper way to prove that it was done correctly and not just something that doesn't matter, something that gives reason for Tavi or to Kitai to be dismissed. And if Tavi agrees with all of this, it's like, but why is she mad? It's like, well, maybe she also just deserves to be shown that you love her, not just knowing, but act on it a bit. Give her some romance.
But she knows. She can feel it. Yeah, but you have to show it. But she knows. Okay, we're going in circles here.
A little bit.
This is where you got the idea for the roads later, going in circles.
We call this the first Kitai highway of Alera because
it just goes around and around and around, and you get back to the same place.
That's terrible, but
and
the Kitai way. See, we could have shortened it even more.
Max also points out this problem of bastards, like he is one, and it's a thing that will cause problems for highborns. And if he has a child with Kitai, and then if there's bastards, like, be sensible about all this stuff. It's like now they can probably use the watercrafting in ways that are effectively birth control, however it is that they do that. But still, at some point, if he's planning on having children with her, do something about it.
It's a good thing they didn't take that route yet.
Right. Let's see. Yeah. All right. And then there's maybe my favorite line of the whole book was Tavi says, okay, then I suppose that while I'm finding a way to get the rest of Alera to accept the Canem's help and figuring out how to defeat the Vord and coming up with enough support to actually be the First Lord, I'll have to work in an epic romance into the schedule. Exactly. That is exactly why I read these books.
Oh, and then you get a friend be like, yeah, simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Max is like, that's why you're the princeps and I'm just a humble tribune. It's like you get paid, not paid the big bucks, and I'm just going to be a soldier complaining about it at all points.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
It's God-given right to complain.
Fury given.
Fury given. I wasn't the only one who thought it didn't click for me until later on when the Great Fury goes ham.
Which
they're the Gyarados. They're Titans, essentially. The Great Fury is like.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could, because they're big, but
I thought Titans when he described it. Yeah,
which is fine.
So there's this big meeting on the boat as Tavi is like, we are going to land in this area, and here is our plan. And also, Gaius Sextus is dead.
Dun dun.
And yeah, Gaius is dead. That makes Tavi officially First Lord. Officially, sort of unofficially, because there's still Aquitaine.
My younger brother's running the show right now, even though he's like 40.
Yeah. It's the weirdest thing, but it's really funny.
Listen, games of protocol and politics. That's how they do it.
All the things that drive Kitai crazy that now she wants applied to her in her courtship and her marriage.
For practical purposes, not for...
Yeah.
Not because they're fun. We get that at the end.
I think she likes the dress that she gets to wear at some point.
She does say that, yes.
She likes the effect it has on him, at least.
Right. Yeah. It's like, okay, Aquitanus Addis has been officially adopted in House of Gaius as my younger brother, and Max just snorts. He's 30 years older than you. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Details.
They have to battle the Croach. They're trying to do all sorts of things to make sure that stops happening. He knows where they're trying to retreat into, and they need the Vord Queen. And it's kind of just like a recap of things that we've already been told. But the important thing is Tavi is doling out the information to the people who need to know. And they're trying to figure out, like, where is Antlus? Where is their allies that when they land, because they still have 100,000 Canaan with them. And how do they make sure that doesn't break into another war immediately? Crassus is going to try to talk to his father, but his father's not quite there, and they need to talk to Phrygia and things like that. And as everyone is breaking up and going into different things that they're going to prepare to, Magnus just kind of hangs around and says, I think as your head spy master, I deserve to know how you got all that information. And Tavi says no.
No.
Essentially, Tavi's like, as First Lord, I get to be mysterious. So there's that.
He says, I can see why you feel that way.
Tavi's beard grows 3 inches and grays out a little bit as he turns into an arc wizard.
I was going to say, between Magnus and Aaron in this book, I would probably abolish the cursors after all this.
Aaron did an okay job.
I'm saying they interfere a lot.
Yes, they do.
They get very busy. I would not want that around me.
Yeah.
Well,
they're meant to be Gaius' right hand, but we saw how that worked out with Fidelius. So
I was going to say, and he was meant to be Addis's first hand too. You see how that works out for him,
right?
But he's like, well, I got instructions from the other one. Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, it is a thing. Like Tavi tells them not to do spycraft on the Canum ship, so that you expected us to follow that rule. Of course, we're going to do this. But yeah, they're going to keep doing things.
They're also raised to be quite independent, so that's probably where they went wrong.
Well, he only had a few days of cursoring, and then he was a captain, so he wouldn't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And there's a little bit more of a back and forth of Magnus really, really, really wanting to know all of the sources. And now Tavi understands how Gaius got all of his crazy amounts of information from Alera. But no, it is my wizardly privilege. I'm not sharing.
Right. Tavi's over there like, nope. So
it's like crack to wizards.
Exactly.
And to First Lords. Let's see. We get to see Bernard and Amara.
While he said it.
Right.
We get to see Bernard and Amara with Masha, because they're in the Calderon Valley trying to have somewhat of a normal life. And even though everything has been kind of overrun with all the refugees, Masha has been given a horse from Hashat. That's her name. It's Kitai's aunt of the horse people of the Marat. And she gave a pony to Masha, which was, if it was a couple of days earlier when it was delivered, people probably would have eaten it for stew. But at the right time, that now the little girl gets to have her pony. I'm trying to teach her how to ride, and it's one of the first days that she's actually acted like a normal, happy child after her mother was killed, because obviously that hurts. Let's see. And they're just trying to have a normal moment, and then of course it's going to be interrupted eventually, but see.
The horse is very proud of itself when it throws her off.
Of course this will be.
Yeah. It's just I think it's how it runs around, really happy with itself, and Bernard Fury crafts it over, and you have to get back up because you can't just give up when you go down.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little teachable moment.
Yeah, you have to not be too afraid to try again, even though yes, the horse is still a little bit scary and can still totally do all the bad things. All right, it cuts to Marcus as they have landed to the area that they're trying to deposit all the people, and they already had plans of the Canum go in this direction, the Alerans go in this direction, and it puts the Aleran forces in between the Canum and the rest of the Aleran country. So as the city freaks out and is why are all the Canum here, they would have to go up against Alerans before they could actually attack the Canum. And Marcus is yelling at people and putting them in lines and doing the normal first spear things. And Magnus is still very suspicious and hunts him like a cursor in specific ways that only cursors really do, and then gets caught. And so Magnus is certain Marcus was a cursor. He just can't figure out who. Magnus was using him as practice, and it quite irritates Fidelius.
Yeah, are you referring to the dagger incident where it was they snuck up behind him and tapped him on the shoulder because it's I had you at any point, type of thing. So
there's also the point that at camp he follows him, and only a cursor would have noticed him or something.
Right.
Yeah, I think this was the thing about the dagger. But if Marcus reacts in a way that it was a threat that he understood, that it would give away that he understood the thing that the cursor had done, because it was something only they were trained to do. And so instead he has to act like there isn't a dagger about to kill him if he reacts the wrong way, and just be a normal first spear. That the acting is getting hard on him as his personalities are starting to blend back together. And this is when they get attacked by Vord, when they were wondering are they even out there? Yeah. And then there's oh, they're 3 feet from us, and here they're ones trying to eat my face.
Right.
Just another day.
Yeah. And here's like Fidelius is fighting against his nature of protecting himself, but also protecting the world, the realm, because he knows Magnus means well, isn't a bad person, is helpful to Tavi. He doesn't want bad things to happen to Magnus, but all he has to do is be a little bit too slow and Magnus is dead.
Right.
And it would solve all of his problems.
Oh, darn, I'm just not fast enough. Yeah.
But he didn't do that, and he chose to save Magnus anyway, even though it was putting a stressor on his lives and his life and everything like that. He did do what he felt was the right thing in saving him. And towards the end of it, it's like, oh, Magnus, we should talk. I don't really get to talking because then they're just two old men who've survived a Vord attack, and then like younger legionnaires walk up and just see them laughing, and that just makes them laugh harder. It's like, what happened to these people? They've gone senile. Yeah.
Oh, he tells him he's getting paranoid in his old age.
That's very normal.
After getting jumped. Go figure.
Okay, what's happening next?
More Vord.
Well, so Tavi and Max have to go talk to the Canem. It's like, oh right, it is the Vord, but they go see the Vord Queen speaking in the water, and it happened in one of the wells in the Canem camp. And so Tavi and Max run over to there and make way for the War Master's Gadara, because he's very well known, obviously. He has privileges to just go in and out of the Canem camp, even though most of them are not going to. And the Vord Queen is water sending an image of herself, I think with color and everything. Like, that's how powerful she is, speaking to all of Alera. She is addressing them all and saying things like, this is how powerful I am. I am coming for you and your people. You may surrender. And then all you have to do is you'll do what I say, and you can no longer have children, but otherwise you can live out your life.
Right.
And it would work.
She's going to put them on a reserve where they can't have kids, So, yep. A human petting zoo.
Mm-hmm. But she's just sending the message out. She's not receiving back information.
Yeah. She can't do that part yet. The sending is very hard, but receiving it back is even more hard. So all it is like she stood there for several minutes waiting to get all of the attention possible in every single water puddle across the country to get everyone's attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like this scene and like what it leads to. There's so much that goes on to this book. You get distracted by the later action and everything, but because his response, of course, has to be just as good, if not better. So,
Yeah. So Varg says, Tavar, your helmet, and gets the helmet from Tavi and wipes it through the water, breaking the image of the Vord Queen, and then drinks it as a way of attacking the enemy in this way. And then I'm still thirsty, who will drink with me? And then Tavi does the same thing of showing like, yeah, I'm more badass than that thing.
Right.
And it's the one thing that they needed right at that moment to show all the Alerans and Canem who were just freaked out by that they're not giving up.
Right.
But what are they going to do in return? Tavi's just going to do the same thing, but better. But it's important.
I'll do my own water sending with blackjack and hookers.
Right.
Pretty close. We get to see Invidia having dinner with the Vord Queen, and it's like weirdly horrifying in a banal way. Of, like a table.
How was your day?
Yeah, we've got Croach casserole. We've got grilled Croach. We got burnt Croach. We got.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure it was just raw Croach.
Yeah. Okay, so all of the different ones change later, but yeah, like the one with cheese for some reason just sticks with me because it's just like, it's why? Like it's already terrible. Like the cheese.
I found the creme brulee Croach to be particularly horrifying to think about.
Yeah.
Those are so poorly made creme brulee Croach.
Obviously,
not terrible.
Hard enough to make well-made creme brulee Croach look like.
I was going to say every single one of them seems to get worse because she's like, this one was inedible, but this one was like I wanted to rip my guts out.
Yeah.
A good one would be like nice caramelized, like golden sugar, and then Courtship instead of burnt sugar. You ask what a good one would be like. That would be a good one. That would be a good creme brulee Courtship.
All right, so we found the Vord sympathizer. So
yeah.
Oh no, those come later.
Well, I was going to say he lives in the state-run government anyway, so.
And you already have terrible taste in pizza, so it's like I can't expect too much from you.
Nice.
Oh man.
I was going to say, based on your cuisine that you've showed us, you pretty much are eating Croach already. So
it's not Andreas's people or fault.
No, it is his people.
Grew up without knowing what pizza is. They learned from the Italians, which is where they went wrong.
That's true. They should have learned from the Americans what good pizza is.
Right. Like, obviously, we take all of your guys' food, we make it worse for us, but better in general.
Better tasting, but worse for you.
Pizza, bratwurst, just all of that got improved. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll find out when I come over and enjoy your delicious food of Taco Bell and.
What do you think happens faster? They build that new highway, or in Alera, or Andreas comes over here? We got a 25-year clock here. Which one's happening?
If you pay, I'll come next week. But I kind of, how much it take it to America costs? Even if I
live here.
Even if I only have to pay for like food and I get to live at Justin rent free or whatever, and not have to pay for a hotel, it's still really expensive to fly over there. Like really, really expensive. So you have to cross the Atlantic.
Don't you have a Viking ship lying around somewhere? Something ancient?
Yeah, I do have that one Viking ship I built to prove my virility as a young man. That is true.
Right. And then they fed you that terrible pizza as a reward. Congratulations.
Yeah, with salad on top. Ugh. And beer, or mead it was, rather. But
obviously mead.
Yeah.
We're 46 minutes sailing over on chapter 6. People, we have got to move.
Yeah.
Come on, we all knew this was going to fall apart and nothing was going to happen anyway.
We have a schedule.
No, you have a schedule. We are here to kick your schedule.
Your job is to keep us on the schedule. Our job is to take us off the schedule.
Correct.
Oh, goodness, guys.
Okay.
Can we skip to the part where Tavi responds, or is there more stuff we got to cover first?
Well, this is when the queen has a daughter and then the daughter says it's defective. And so it's a really creepy dinner. And the Vord Queen is going through the motions of, so how was your day? It's it was boring and terrifying at the same time. Don't ask. But you have the sympathy for Invidia because she's in the worst position possible. But you still hate her for everything that she's done, and you want to see her suffer. But the Croach is horrifying, and don't give me a casserole of that. It's just and then the Vord Queen seems to be kind of broken, and then there's the infant daughter that's a day old that shows up and is eating the Croach just completely no problem, and not using the utensils that the Queen wants her to do, like the proper lady that she's trying to be. And then it's we should do this thing of having a family and a relationship, and the daughter says, you are defective, and then they try to fight each other. And Invidia still has this moment of I could just not do anything and maybe the queen will die. But she believes that the queen will live anyway. And then she's going to herself be killed for not doing enough. And so very similar to what Fidelius just had, but more insidious in that she was far more afraid of her own life being taken.
Right.
Yeah. But then there is the Tavi water sending.
I mean, the exact difference, right, is that Fidelius values the realm above everything, above his loyalty to Gaius, above his own life, everything. Invidia values her own life above everything. That's the difference, right? You're right in that, those two situations are almost a mirror of each other in that choice. But, that's the thing is Invidia will literally do anything to survive, including being turned into some kind of hybrid Vord thing, and then, Fidelius just wants to do everything he can for the realm at the end of the day, because he's chosen multiple times. It proves out in his choices that he revealed himself at Alera Imperia in Academ's Fury. He's been next to, Tavi as Marcus this entire time, just on and on and on. He could have been anywhere else doing anything else, but he's where he thinks he needs to be to do the most good that he can,
And this is
I think he has
why he and Invidia did not work together well. They did and didn't.
he goes from this person who ultimately would like do anything for what he thinks is best for the realm, and he's never really a bad guy. That's why he's also interesting. But he develops such loyalty for Tavi that I think he would do anything for Tavi by the end.
Because he sees Tavi as good for the realm. Like, he was never in it with Invidia. He was there because he thought Aquitaine, like Lord Aquitaine, was what was best for the realm. And Invidia was the one doing all the shady shit, I guess.
What would be interesting is because I feel like he says it at some point that something about his grandfather, he would do X, Y, and as good as these things, and his father he would inspire loyalty, but like Tavi does it all, and he would people would follow him to kill a Leviathan or whatever it is and come back with sunken treasure somehow. He would probably make it work. And God darn if he isn't one of them and would follow him into the maws of hell. Where I'm just thinking what would be an interesting question is, has he evolved to the point where Tavi is what he ultimately believes and is loyal to? So let's say Tavi did something that Fidelius would think is bad for the realm, but Tavi thinks is better for the realm. Would he think, I will let Tavi do it because I'm loyal to Tavi and I trust Tavi, or I trust my judgment and this is not good for the realm like he used to do?
It's almost a hypothetical that I don't expect would ever happen, right? Because Tavi is like he's so far doing everything he thinks that is right for the realm, regardless of what everybody thinks. But he is the realm, right? So it's so wild. What he does is it's not you invested money over here when you should have helped those orphans or whatever, kind of towards your point. He'll figure out a way to do both, and he'll figure out plan H, which is why don't we just ice skate our way through it, because that's a valuable that's a valid solution to this puzzle. And people are like, what the hell's an ice skate?
There are two things I actually get a little tired of in the book series is A, Wolfish Smile, and
what?
And B, I grew up on a Stephold and this was my uncle, therefore I have this brilliant idea.
And that's what I've been saying, right? The last few episodes, Tavi's superpower isn't apparently all these things that he can do, because all the High Lords can do it. Tavi's superpower is that he grew up on a Stedhold. That's what makes him different.
And real estate. He leases out the wall. He gives everybody their land at the end. He's a speculator.
But he learned how to do that because he grew up on a Stedhold, because the wolves taught him how to invest in, it's just, it just gets to a thing where it's somehow this all ties back to he grew up on a farm,
farm.
Kind of the point of part of the Bet series. It had to start with a boy on a farm because that's how all the classics start. And so that's what he did. And
just to get one more in for EG, because he learned while he was on the farm that some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill, and he's like, what a great idea, why don't I try that? So
and it got them from point A to point B in 3 minutes comparatively.
All right, we will get there. So
we're already there. We can skip that part now. You're welcome.
We're busy. The daughter that was attacking the queen was apparently the 27th that had been born on Aleran shores, and they all keep doing the same thing. And so the Vord Queen is very vexed. Why does this keep happening? Why are they not compassionate and helpful and doing the thing that I want to do? And why they keep saying that I'm the one that's defective, and it's kind of right. And it has all these emotions that she doesn't know what to deal with because she's only 9 years old anyway. And Invidia is the one who's there to try to comfort her and help her with therapy and things. And in the middle of that, Tavi stands up from the water and says, I am the first Lord of Alera, and you will fucking listen.
Right. So I guess he's alive then,
Yeah. Yeah. And Invidia is like, oh, it's Septimus. It's not Septimus.
Yeah.
But she has that thing that everyone else does. It's like,
wait, I killed you.
Yeah, Septimus, I thought you were dead.
You thought you were Dedimus.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this is also showing that Tavi the Furyless Freak is now Tavi the very strong Fury Crafter because he does the water sending and some of the water receiving and is at least just as powerful as the Vord Queen. And notably, Aquitaine didn't do this. Tavi did.
Right.
See. And Tavi says if people want to go towards the Vord Queen's offer of sanctuary and surrender, he's not going to hold that against them. Of course, everyone is afraid and scared. And at the end of all of this, they will not be punished because it's the same thing that he had to do with Arnos and the Free Alerans, the people who were fighting alongside the Canem against the people who were raping and murdering and killing them all. They were doing the right thing to protect themselves, and they're not going to be punished for it, or at least they're going to have a little bit of service that's just kind of literal lip service and get back to being a good citizen. So he says like he's coming to help them, but he's not going to punish them for anything. And then he stops all the rest of them and says directly to the Vord Queen of like, I am coming for you. You will not be able to hurt my people anymore. And some of this was in the background, Invidia can feel in the water crafting, there was a lot of hope and joy from that Steadholt farm that the Vord Queen is keeping like a dollhouse. And she assumed that it was because of seeing someone that's saying that they're going to come help them. But she didn't know until a few minutes later that it was because someone literally broke in and stole them away and took them to safekeeping. Like Crassus and the other Knights Pisces flew around and took all of the people that the Vord Queen had these little pockets of. Yeah. And once the Vord Queen realized that, she breaks down several walls and just destroys the place in her anger. Like, all of my dolls are gone, and how dare he steal them from me, my evil daddy, and just goes through all of the other Steadholts, breaking down walls.
This has gotten extra weird, which is...
I was going to say, please don't say that line specifically the way you just did ever again.
She makes it very creepy of like referring to him as her father.
Yeah, but Isana she didn't call him evil daddy. That was you.
Evil daddy and mommy.
Evil daddy is between you and your significant other.
Evil daddy Tavi. Say Alera. My safe word's Alera and evil daddy.
Oh no.
Okay,
no.
so Katai, it's doing it for you. Got it.
Queen is angry enough that he took the dogs, he took the cat, he took the livestock, he left literally nothing of the Steadholt. Like, of course he took the cat. He cares. Like, Jim likes cats and dogs. He's gonna take the pets. Yeah.
It just shows you the amount of like effort that went into it, right? Is that the whole thing was a smokescreen, almost as much. I mean, obviously he has to address the Alera nation, but his address to the Queen,
much like his grandfather, gotta get value of every action.
Right.
Yeah, multiple things happening.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's just wild, everything that went through. And then they had like what, 1 to 4 casualties, like,
I think
so.
Yeah, like 2 to 4. So there were these weird wasps that had happened that I think they had seen in Cania. There were defensive measures in place, and Crassus and his people, like, they had tried to do some basic prep of like something's going to happen. And so the wasp had gotten like 2 of them, and then there's other 2 that might be dying if they don't get to water crafting soon, but they're trying to fly, and they've got all the people that they've stolen away. So they didn't come out of it without harm, but it was still worth it. And the Vord Queen was upset. Apparently Crassus and the Pisces could hear her screaming from a couple miles away.
He's got a set of lungs on her.
Mm-hmm. And Marcus is with Tavi, and Tavi is asking, so do you know anything about Marat marriage customs and courting customs? And I was like, why the fuck are you asking me? I'm just a soldier that knows nothing. But Fidelius might have heard of something about Marat, and he says that there was some kind of a competition set by the female that if he wins, then he gets to marry her. And it's like generally probably a combat of fighting. And Tavi's like, oh, great. Well, she's of course going to win that. Can't do that as an option. It's, yeah. Trial by combat. And love is a wonderful thing, sir.
Yeah.
They're talking about some of the papers and the reports, and then there's 2 Canem that are sent apparently from Varg as messengers, but they don't quite look of the right type of messengers because they have the look of the Maker class, not of the Warrior class. And why would Varg send a messenger anyway? And then those 2 try to kill him, both of them. And because they were together, each of them were wanting to kill their own opponent and then save the other, and they were hoping to have, a living enemy at the end of being able to get information or just not kill the Canem that are supposed to be on their side. But the 2 Canem did die, and then Tavi needs to respond immediately because the way that all of this politics work. And so they go get both Antyluses as much as Maximus because Crassus is gone. And then Marcus and Schultz has to show up because he's survived this long. He's savvy enough to be around. Everyone who's just like big and imposing and clever and has to go with him. And Gatai just shows up because she knew something happened, and they're all going to go look pissed off and stomp into
like, what are we mad about today? All right, I'm in. So
yeah. They stomp in through the Canem camp, and they go up to Varg, and they start yelling of like, something has happened. Someone tried to kill me, and they said it was your fault, and so you must answer for this.
Yeah, and then they settle on a duel 2 days hence, right? So because it's like, you don't have enough going on. So.
When it was convenient.
Right.
Yeah. Because they know that there are politics about this. Tavi knows that Varg didn't try to kill him because why would he? But Varg is still the one who's responsible for his inferiors, which would be Krull and the Ritualists, who are manipulating the Makers. And so it has to be all above board, even though neither one of them want to duel each other or hurt each other or kill each other, because that would be a bad thing for everyone involved. They still have to do this. And then they all walk out of the Canem camp shaking, because that was a lot of Canem that they just made angry, even though they were friends 5 minutes ago. So
no, they were enemies 5 minutes ago.
But they were frenemies.
Still frenemies.
Yeah.
So just, they it's complicated.
Oh yeah. Complicated is the nature of these books and these relationships. Okay. Isana is waiting for people to vote on the veracity of Octavian's birthright and whether he's Septimus' son. Is like, this has to be some form of senatorial vote thing because bureaucracy and something rules of Alera, and she's just pissed off about the whole thing. She doesn't get to say anything anymore, so she and Veratus are kind of venting. And then at some point, Aquitaine, Attis, shows up, and after there's a moment of almost romance between Isana and Araris, and Aquitaine says, hey, it's a good idea? You should marry me. And Araris is trying not to have a stroke. Yeah. And
I like how pragmatic he is. He's like, oh, I didn't realize. I mean, what you do in your own time, like we got to make an heir, and we got to
or not. He doesn't even say that they have to make an heir. He says explicitly, Tavi can still be the heir, and it would just help.
We don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount maybe of like proving the consummation, but like she's a powerful watercrafter that can ensure there is no heir at all.
I just remembered that he wanted consummation.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Maybe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to be an heir out of it because she.
Oh no, you're right. I do remember that other part now.
Okay. Yeah, Araris is still about to have. He still needs to get divorced technically, but if she agreed to it, something would happen. And he has lots of pragmatic things, but this is trying to show how her belief in Tavi is more important than the pragmatism of the political marriage, because that was some of the problems that's happening at all of the high citizenry. Like that's why Raucus was so upset by Isana and everything, because he wanted to marry the woman he loved, and the child from it and take care of Maximus, but he had to marry Dorothea instead and have Crassus. The pragmatism is not the reason for marriages. It's driving them all crazy and they just don't realize it.
Oh yeah, that's what did it. Okay. Like
part of it.
There's certainly not a deeper root here where they're just like actually insane and, you know, they decide like the first thing that they see is just the way that it is. You know, we couldn't have possibly used mules because we've always been able to fury craft, obviously, you know, like there's definitely something deep in their, you know, society that is just like, you know, for lack of a better word, arrogant, where it's just like, nope, how it is how it's always been and how it's always going to be, you know. But yeah, the pragmatism certainly plays into it, and it certainly screwed up, you know, so many families. So
the pragmatism, I mean, it's a good point of view to have, but you can out rhetoric yourself on something that matters by dint of pragmatism of something. Like Septimus's choice of marrying Isana was, I mean, there are good reasons for it, and he can argue for it and all that. There's arguments that they have against it, but to kind of tunnel vision into just the point of like, well, she's not a highborn lady and you need to do this thing for political marriages or anything like that. The power of rhetoric and arguments can be its own fault when you're losing sight of what the purpose is. And Septimus sees that. Tavi and Isana understand that because, of course, they're supposed to. But that's some of the fault of like Aquitaine is smart, but he's losing a little bit of the wisdom of it, like the human nature of it. So she turns him down. Right. Which makes Raris happy, but Aquitaine is like, well, this is stupid. You really should have done it. Something rather of like, okay, I guess. But she also just can't be willing to do that kind of lie as a marriage, as a life, not anymore. Not after having done that for Tavi for so long. But it was something that he, of course, he could do because of the pragmatic reasons. And he almost kind of did. Like whatever he felt for Invidia, they were comfortable with each other for 20, 30 years of marriage. Yeah. But he also isn't heartbroken that she's a traitor, that she was dead, that now she is fighting with the Board Queen, that he's going to have to try to kill her or anything like that.
I imagine I would want to kill her too if I was married to her.
Yeah.
She seems less than pleasant at times.
Oh, yeah. Quite.
Not everyone can be, you know, Arya and what's his face? Did he ever get a first name?
He did, but I forgot it.
Okay.
I know, just Placida.
Right. His first name is Lord, so... Yeah.
It's like in the Avengers. His first name is Agent.
Yeah. I use that with the wife all the time because it's like she works at school and then you know, my boy goes to the same school. So when she was talking about him as a teacher, she would say Mr. So-and-so, but then she'd talk about him as a coworker and she'd use his first name. And I'm like, who the hell is first name? His first name is Mr. Yeah, exactly. So
it's funny. In this exchange or the aftermath of it was we get some of the background of Miles and Aldrich and Odiana and all of the happened there because Aquitaine had known of it and made just an oblique reference of like defending the wrong woman. And Miles had kind of fallen for Odiana, who she had been captured and enslaved and raped a lot during the awakening of her watercrafting abilities and made her quite insane about all of it. And Miles wanted to protect her, and Aldrich was showing love to Odion the only way that she understood it. And that was apparently wrong. And so that's what led to the duel. And Araris fighting Aldrich instead. And Septimus had to kick Aldrich out. And now Aldrich is running around with Aquitaine as the Windwolves and the mercenaries. And it's like all that history is still coming back to haunt them. But
also, I realized they reminded me of now finally was Esteban and Esmeralda.
Ooh, okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, with the crazy woman and the peace love, we're gonna try this pragmatically before we start killing everyone.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was like, there's something so fucking familiar about these two. It's like, oh yeah, obviously these.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's an archetype he's done a couple times. We'll probably see it again.
Well, they didn't get Wolfish Smile, so small mercies.
But it's what I found fascinating about reading this again is we got the background in book 6 of why they were all crazy in book 1.
Right.
Which, like, it makes me wonder, like, how much did he truly have planned out all the way from the beginning? And I love it, but it's still like that dropping at the last book when they're barely present of the why she's so crazy and why they're all damaged and the why of why Miles had a bum leg because of Araras and everything. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And then towards the end of this, Isana and Araras get kidnapped by the disciplined collared slaves from the board.
Yeah, you know, they're just having a normal one. That's per usual.
Yeah, because
just Tuesday.
Pretty much.
This is what, the 3rd time she's been kidnapped now? 4th? Because there was
he does say that, right? So what's the mission? Well, you know, same old. We gotta go rescue somebody.
Because I know there was book 1 on this that hold. There was after she. Well, she was kind of kidnapped by. I mean, she was attempted kidnapped / then Sarai died and all that stuff. So she was like not
true
technically, but she was still kind of.
She was semi-saved, but you could still make the argument Fidelius, kidnapped her. But yeah,
temporarily. It was a minor.
But definitely. Last book, right, was the horse. When they were trying to get the horses and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she gets up to some shenanigans.
Yeah, she's got to have a stamp card at this point, like one more, and she gets a free weekend. I don't know, like what's the reward for?
What other part of the realm haven't I been kidnapped to yet?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I've been kidnapped to or from. See, there's something for like 30
Bingo
years
card
down the road, and it's like, really, you're gonna kidnap me? I've been kidnapped to or from every city in the realm. Like, give me a break.
I've been everywhere, and there was always a bag over my head.
Yeah, maybe you can see the countryside instead of just being bound and gagged. Yeah. So yeah, they get kidnapped because the Board Queen has to do something evil against Tavi because Tavi took her dolls and things like that. And Tavi is in the middle of all this fighting with Varg of noting that Crassus and Maximus are now actual friends, and that makes Kitai happy. And then she says, so I have a date set up for like at the top of the hill. If you would please wear the pretty dress and then come have dinner with me. And then she gets all happy with it. But she also doesn't like confirm that she's going to dinner and leaves him hanging as she walks away. She's like, oh, that's nice. And just walks.
She's playing hard to get.
I think there's something later or earlier as well where Max is like, she's kidding, right? And yeah, I think so. And then when Max is gone, you weren't kidding, right? And she just walks away.
Yeah.
We get to see some of the senatorial fighting of the vote to verify Octavian as Septimus' son. And of course, there's a senator in league with Aquitaine saying things of like, of course he's not, of course he is or isn't, or something like that. And then there's the mildly drunk bruiser senator that was having bar fights the night before. That happens to be Veratus's uncle and therefore Sirius's brother. Like, he's a senator and a scallywag, but he's also the fun guy who's just like insulting everyone. And kind of like, you were saying that we need to talk about all of these things, but now you're saying I don't have enough time to talk about it. So like, but pick a side and choose something.
Sorry, according to the senator, I don't have time to spare your feelings on this one.
Right.
That was a good line.
Yes, he makes a very passionate argument and essentially wins them over for the vote. Because I think they said he needed, 35, 36 votes to essentially get the bad way, and they only get 34 or something.
Yeah,
but they don't get to do the other count because the whole thing explodes because, oh God, there's Vord everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And so that like you're going through the motions and we're seeing the process of it happen of like, well, he's not a citizen, therefore he shouldn't be heir. It's like, he doesn't need to be a citizen to be someone's heir. who gives a shit if he's not a citizen? He is the heir. And we see that he's powerful fury crafting now that he's done the watercraft sending and things like that.
That's probably like a really big bead or all of the beads, or both,
Yeah. Right. And so they say something that like, well, Sextus was clearly losing his mind when he was trying to claim that Octavian is his heir. It's like, okay, if that's the case, then his adoption of Aquitaine is also in doubt because that happened after he knew about Octavian.
Right.
It's like, so pick a lane. I'll fight you in either one of them, but you're hurting yourself this way. It was really fun argument back and forth. And then the Vord show up and everything explodes. And Amara and Veratus realize that Isana's been kidnapped and they can't get anyone to give a shit about it because the Vord is exploding and the fighting is happening. And they go to someone.
And she gets kidnapped every week anyway. So why are we here?
The only people who care about it are Amara and Veratus. Amara's not allowed near Aquitaine. Aaron specifically kind of said of like, she's too personally attached to Gaius Sextus. And she hates you, so you don't let the singulars let her near Attis. But that's still, that is the reason why Amara actually goes to Aaron of like, I can't talk to him, but we need someone to find Isana. And I don't know how anyone did it. And Aaron's like, well, I know how they must have done it because I built a security measure, so I know what they needed to go through to get to it. And the only thing that he can give them to help find Isana is the Wind Wolves of like, here's the people that we can spare. Everyone else is fighting the Vord and it's going badly. And Aquitaine is like, he's understanding that they need to have Isana. But Amara gets to see him looking down at the fighting and doing as much as he can of like, and how they're trying to adapt to the new shapes of the Vord and the differences in this battle strategy that he's developed instead of like the way that they have in old ways fighting against Alerans and specific arrangements of people. They've changed it up. And so now there's like more Earthcrafters that are using gigantic mallets to just smash the bugs flat when usually they were farther behind. And Aquitaine is also showing the ability to adapt that everyone is really excited about with Tavi. And
Aquitaine's no slouch. He's just no Tavi. Yeah. It kind of shows you that it's like all other things being equal, Aquitaine would have been just fine, but he still wasn't enough.
He didn't grow up on a farm.
Exactly. So
he had people farm for him, and you can't do that and be First Lord and be good at it. It's just not in the cards.
Right. So back to Tavi. As he's trying to do his magical wizardly things, Alera tells him what you are doing is going to have ramifications for thousands of years and possibly ruin the shape of the planet. And she's warning about the growing of glaciers because of the cold winds and things like everything's to be covered in ice in 1,000 years, which to her is really soon. And to him, it's like, that's 10 generations away. They can deal with it, especially if they have warning, because we need to get it through 10 minutes from now. It's building a lot of ice again.
This book is very woke. It's talking about global warming. I don't like it.
Global cooling, really.
Yeah. It's very 70s.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, this is the same argument that comes up in Summer Night. It's like, well, we could either have a new ice age or we could have rampant growth. It's like, that's not so bad. Yeah, if you're friends with the Ebola virus.
Right.
Yeah, that's quite scary.
Titania and Mab are just sitting there like, this idiot child. You see what he's doing.
Tavi versus Mab would be a really fun argument. They don't need to like fight each other. I just want them to like mentally spar. I think it would annoy her.
Yeah. Well, it would probably be more stimulating than Dresden, who's just a fucking idiot.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I'm not taking Tavi in that argument. Sorry.
Yeah. I think I would actually. I'd put my money on Tavi, but I'm trying to think if he'd go as far as to like strike a bargain or if he'd just like work on twisting her up. And it's like, I know it's Mab and this is what she does, but yeah.
I think I would give him over Leah. I don't think I'd go so far as over Mab. At least not at this moment. Maybe 10 years from whatever happens in this book, but
right.
I think Tavi would try to make friends with Mab, which would
confuse her. Make friends with fucking everyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It would confuse her.
Watch Disney movies
you
together.
You want to be my friend?
So in this conversation of the warning of the damage that Tavi is doing or going to be doing over hundreds of years, she confirms that the Alerans did not have fury crafting when they showed up. And then it was no one else is going to accept that except maybe Magnus, but it makes Tavi feel better about being right and validated. And there's this line of when she first started talking, I think it was Primus that said, it's bother, I've gone mad, because he didn't understand what a fury was. Yeah.
Well, no. They knew about furies, but not a sentient fury. They hadn't quite fury crafting. That's why he was gathering the stones, right?
Yeah, it was more like, oh shit, I hear the Furies are talking back to me. That wasn't part of the deal.
Yeah. They're supposed to just do the things that I tell them to do. They're not supposed to argue with me or tell me that I'm destroying the world or that now I'm killing them, because Alera is starting to fall apart bodily, her fingernails are wearing away. All right. The only other person that's going to care about Isana being kidnapped is Arya Placida. And so they get her help as well. But they have to go find Isana and have more arguments about why can't she stay safe. And Isana, for her part, gets bored being taken away, just other than it's cold, and she's wearing skirts, which is really awkward to fly in. But then the Board Queen basically starts doing the creepy things of calling her grandmother. It's why are you doing that? You look like Kitai. This is very creepy. And Araris is sunk into the Croach to be in stasis the whole time for weeks. And it's if you work with me or something, he will come get you and then I will kill him because she's trying to hurt Tavi specifically. It's creepy.
If he didn't take her playhouse, this wouldn't have been an issue.
Right. And we're calling it stasis. You guys missed it in the pre-show conversation because we never see Araris eat or go to the bathroom. So we just got to come up with some reason why that wasn't included in the story.
Magical Croach that just nutrient osmosis, something or other. We're going to go with it.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, he metal crafts himself so hard that he turns into Iron Man. So clearly he just didn't need to bother with any bodily functions.
Literal Iron Man. More than an Iron Man.
Yes.
Shut up.
That's. You think I said that idly?
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, he has got a jetpack now.
Tavi has spent all this effort on trying to have a meal, a dinner date with Kitai, sent her a very pretty dress with earrings and everything that have furies in them, twinkle little colors, and she's very adorable, and he can't pay attention to it because he's all stressed out by everything as the First Lord, and that annoys Kitai a lot because she's so pretty and she even thinks of it of herself. It's he needs to be paying attention to me, not to all of the other problems of every other individual ever.
Well, she solves that problem.
Yeah, earthcrafting works.
Are you earthcrafting me, Ambassador?
Would I do such a thing? Yes. Frequently. She does worse later.
She learned from Max.
Oh, yeah. She learned from Simnia. She learned from Max. She had all the best people.
Oh, yeah. Only the best teachers. But their fun time gets interrupted, too.
Yes. They're trying to have a fun, vulnerable moment of just talking about how they're supporting each other and all happy and everything. And then something big happens and he gets called away because something about the wall just happened. And it's finally, that now we have to get everyone back onto the boats, and everyone's confused. What do you mean back onto the boats?
Yeah.
I mean, get back on
the boats. We're going to take the boats over land by putting metal on them and then pushing it across ice.
Yeah. We're going curling. Do you not understand?
Right. No, they don't. It's weird. Yeah. And Marcus is like in front of all of the soldiers and trying to have a strong face. Like, okay, we will deal with this. We will follow our orders. What the fuck is a ski?
Yeah.
They have attached skis to all of the boats and the ice boats, and they have made a ramp onto the ice wall, and they have outlawed the option of using any of the firecrafting because now he knows from Isana of what's going to cause the arguing and the fighting and all of the battles. And it's like, no more firecrafting. And there's the ramp, and it's Deimos' Slive. Everyone gets onto it, and it just starts sailing away miles away on the ice wall at a speed that they can't possibly do. Even if they had the roads available, and even if the kingdom could use them, it wouldn't be as fast as skiing a boat on the ice wall with the help of all of the giant winds that Alera is warning is going to cause the ice age.
Small adjustment. They're actually north of the wall, right? They're not on the wall.
They're not on the wall.
They opened a section in the wall to get everybody through, I think. Yeah. And then, because they have to worry about rocks and stuff jutting out of the ice later.
Yeah, they crash and stuff because like there's the terrain's not even. It's he used a giant like ice storm that would have very serious impact later on, he's told, and he keeps that going to freeze the ground, like and have the Iceman is also like helping, right? I think they're like moving ahead. Yeah.
Icemen are helping and doing what they do best. Of like, this is serious enough. Now we're going to be friends.
I just want to state this turns in now too fast, too furious.
Real proud of yourself, huh?
I am real proud of myself for that one.
It's been sitting on that one for a couple days.
No, for about 30 seconds.
Yeah. All we know is family. This book is about family.
I mean,
literally.
The Vord is family.
Right.
He's family. I mean, his family line. It all comes down to family.
Right.
You grow up on a farm and family. That's it.
Yeah.
They tried to warn us. And that's how they go into space. You know, like a Pinto in that one. And so in this one.
And then that's when the towers and, so.
It all comes together. We solved it.
Yep.
Fast and the Furious was a blueprint.
So this is how he's moving legions of people on skiing on boats, and they are going so fast that there's a couple of rocks, there's crashes, and it kills hundreds of people in Canaan because when those boats like hit something that isn't allowing them to go as fast as they are, the landing hurts and it just like shatters everything all around. So it's terrifying. The people who are keeping everything moving, they need breaks anyways. And sometimes people just want to get off the big scary ride for like a half an hour, have some solid ground beneath them. And
also they got to take a break for the murder. So,
get in there. Get in there.
I'm just saying, you got things to do. You got to get
coffee. Go at a deliberate
take a break,
pace.
Commit a murder.
Skip the ice death and you go to the more personal death.
Well, yes, because Marcus doing all of his things. Magnus is still very, very suspicious of him and says, you don't add up. He doesn't have any answers. And then when Marcus goes back to his room on the ship, there's Shaw, the remaining hunter from Varg. And Shaw says, we have to do something, or here's the reason why everything bad happened, why people tried to kill you and Octavian and the Makers and tells of Kral. And it's like, Marcus says, like, so what would happen if Kral just disappeared? It's like, well, if he was found dead, that's like, no, not found dead, just disappeared. And Shaw's like, I like this idea. And so then on the next break, Marcus just kind of wanders out into the woods and he makes like a earth crafting bubble and goes downwards. And like him and a 8-foot Canaan are trying to share a breath for like a minute or something, going 20 feet that way to go up into the ship to figure out where Kral is, take him from that, and then go back down into the dirt and just leave him there to suffocate. Although they did also like gut him too because he was getting really annoying and like, please help me. No, well, they'll do all the things. And
the nerve.
Right.
Yeah, he's not wanting to die. But Marcus and Shaw are both professionals. They know how to just get things done, not have to talk about it very much, take things clean. But when they get out of the dirt again and try to pretend like they've not been doing anything but walking around, they get attacked by Vord. Because of course. And now Marcus is tired and because he's done a bunch of earthcrafting he's never done it in a long time, having to fight against on the ship. And as they win, it's still a difficult fight. Magnus says, Fidelius, look out, and Marcus reacts.
Yeah,
and it was supposed to.
It was such a great moment, you know. Fidelius, behind you, huh? You know, it's like,
who?
Yeah. Wait, that's me.
Yeah, and Tavi, of course, it had been some form of a plan, and he had been certain that it was going to exonerate Marcus because it's Marcus, it's the friend, it's the House of the Valiant, it's the one that like has been so helpful. How could he possibly be Fidelius? And so he's heartbroken that the person that he likes is also the person that tried to kill him and his family several books ago.
That was book 1. We've all evolved since then.
Yeah, that was like most of a decade ago. Come on now.
5 years, 6 years.
Yeah,
well, the Queen's 9 years old, so you know, most of a decade.
Yeah, so that puts Tavi at now 24, and he's in charge of everyone. And
vaguely.
That hasn't been confirmed officially by the Senate.
Right. There's no paperwork.
Right.
And paperwork means the world go round.
This is what Peabody taught us.
Yeah.
Alerans are untidy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of untidy, they're also fucking like psychopaths with dishing out punishment, because it's like we gloss over the fact that like all the legions and like Marcus gets the troops ready, and what that involves is like threatening, you know, corporal punishment and whipping and, you know, imprisonment and possibly execution for dereliction of duties because you didn't do your laundry, you know, types of stuff. Whereas like, oh yeah, you are a traitor to the realm. And what are Romans also famous for? This little known act called crucifixion. So we're going to have us a good old-fashioned crucifixion. Because, you know, Fidelius is a traitor to the crown, literally, you know.
Yes. And
Fidelius has got to be just the most interesting character in the whole book. I feel like I like the nuances, like I wrote yesterday on Discord, like how he's like, you can tell the difference between Fidelius and Marcus even in internal like dialogue when he's thinking to himself, and like when he thinks something Marcus would think, like it's worded how Marcus would say it.
Right.
It's just like I find it really, really cool.
Yeah. He's very complicated, and even as he's been identified, revealed, he's relieved because he didn't want to die exactly, but the lying and holding it all together was really dragging on him. And now he feels like he's getting the just punishment. This is what he deserves for having done everything else that's bad that Tavi lays at him of like, you killed Sarai, you tried to kill my family, and blah, blah, blah. But Kid Tai, a smart one, realizes that Tavi is reacting in ways that he would regret and being a little bit stupid about it. He's like, why are you being an idiot? She barges in. It was like, how am I being an idiot? I'm doing what is justified. It's like, there are ways of being more clever about this. And specifically, it's like, okay, so you can order him to death, but can you order him to die as you want him to? Or does he have to be killed by crucifixion right now? And when she gets him to admit that he's just reacting out of emotional hurt because of the threat that Fidelius was to his family, he can kind of calm down a little bit. And he goes out to Marcus as being bound up on the cross, literally crucifying, and says...
It's also personal, right? That she points that out. Like, he's not thinking clearly. One, because he actually trusts Marcus.
Mm-hmm. They saved each other's life multiple times. That's why it hurt so much.
What Fidelius had done before when he thought that would, like, that was for the best, all the people in Calderon and everything. Yeah, like
this is the continuation of circumventing stupid tropes, like when we don't hold grudges for chapters on end against our parents for lying to us, and we deal with the problem immediately.
Right. Yeah.
This is, no, we're not doing it. She just kicks it in and she's like, no, we're not doing this trope today. We've got things to do.
Yeah, in Dresden, they would have scheduled the crucifixion in book 5. They would have started performing the ceremony in book 7. It would have been interrupted, and then they would have continued it in book 11, you know, and you're just like, Oh, come on.
Ask what the fuck Starborn is already.
This, please?
Yes, right. Well, obviously, we love the books, guys, but we got to make fun of the tropes somewhere.
I was going to say, could you imagine if Tavi was a Starborn? We would have known what that shit was in book 2.
No.
Right? Yeah. He would have gone to Starborn school.
Right. The second, or even if it waits till even if it waited till this book, the second Alera pops up, he's like, "Oh, what's a Starborn?"
Right.
As you ask the all-powerful spirit of the world.
Yeah.
I do like the whole school setting, and I wish kind of like this that would have been more school focused than the second one, just because I'm a sucker for the school setting, the magic schools and stuff. But it wasn't really that.
Like, I'm not necessarily like a huge fan of it, but it just seemed like a waste. It's like Tavi went to the academy, and you could tell because the main story kept getting interrupted by like final exams and stupid shit. And it's like it otherwise, is like, well, this is where I met my bullies, and this is where I did my final breakfast stuff. And it's like, yeah, you saw like 2 times they were in class. One time you saw what the finals kind of looked like because that was the cursor parts. And then one time Maximus talked about what he was doing in class when everybody else was learning, like, so, but they went to school. So,
well, yeah, I think between Harry Potter and the Kingkiller Chronicles, that's what I'm used to when they like, oh, we go on a magic school. We're going to be at magic school.
Right.
Which is fine if that's what the part of the story is going to be. But like, I guess there's a way that this could have been, because you're non-magic kid at magic school. What the fuck are you doing?
Exactly. Right.
Like, but that's obviously not what the book was about. It was, but not.
He was succeeding in paperwork because paperwork makes the world go round.
Yes.
Him and Aaron making the world go round. So,
yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So Tavi decides that Fidelius is going to be entirely in service to the crown. It's like the reward for work well done is more work. So get the fuck back to work. You don't get an easy death. You're going to spend it as I want you to. Let's see.
We touch on this at the end of the book as well.
Oh yeah. It's not a theme that goes away. And now, Aquitaine and everyone is trying to fall back from Reva because the board has gone crazy as they're trying to also save Isana and everything. But we should.
That's every other chapter, and then the board went crazy, and then the board went crazy, and then the board went crazy.
It is a very reoccurring theme.
They're Gadara. They're consistent. You can count on them to be what they are,
which is annoying and scary and everywhere and green.
That would have solved the problem. He should name the queen as Gadara, and then they would have been friends. It would have been perfect. But no.
Yeah. All of the citizenry and the High Lords are trying to defend the heir as much as they can. As people are escaping from Reva to garrison to Calderon Valley, to where Bernard has been preparing. And Aquitaine is holding the line as much as he can from very crazy wild furies, because as the Alerans are dying and as the Vord Fury Crafters are stirring them up and making them angry, they are manifesting in giant scary Pokemon fashion, and he's trying to bind them.
Yeah, well, what is it? Amara goes flying up overhead and sees, they just pointed like 1,000 million fucking monsters at us. They're not controlling them. They're just like, you're going that way.
Yeah, put them on the road.
And that's going to be enough to kill everyone.
Yeah, and this was one of the things that Amar had seen of Aquitaine, of like, she tells him this information that's very important, and he starts adapting to it. It's like, okay, we have to change everything around. He's not just going to dismiss her because he doesn't like her or anything like that. And as he is the one of the biggest fairy crafters around, he's the one who's going to try to grab them all so that someone else isn't getting injured, and also get more powerful for it. Very conveniently.
Wouldn't hurt.
See, so as Mara's trying to get him the fuck out of there because he is still the First Lord, technically right there, and even she doesn't like it. Bernard is in the area, and he's trying to help defend Aquitaine against other things. And then there's other disciplined collared Fury Crafters that are trying to kill them. And then Invidia shows up out of nowhere after they've been kind of being injured. And that's when Aquitaine breaks from the farce after having successfully drawn out Invidia, because they really need to get her incapacitated.
Dead.
So Aquitaine was actually manifesting those furies himself to put on the show.
And they were playing tug of war.
Right.
Like with a puppy.
Basically. Yeah.
So that it was like to draw her out, because she's not going to attack unless he feels that, or she feels that he is actually vulnerable. And he throws divorce papers in her face because he had to be served. It had to like actually be given to you to make it finalized. And he does something to her. I was
going to say, first he nukes the building and her, essentially. Then she reveals herself afterwards like, aha, I'm not dead, by stabbing through him and with this very, very unpleasant way to kill him.
Yes.
And then he falls back and throws the divorce papers at her, and it's like, you...
Oh, right.
As he's already been injured, which is what made it amusing to me. Is like, no, priorities. Gotcha. we're getting this done. I don't care that you basically just killed me.
Yeah, details. He nuked her and part of the building, and so she had fallen, and they kind of felt maybe that they could assume that she was dead.
They didn't confirm. They didn't look for the body.
No.
Right.
They just oh yeah, of course she died, because that was something from a high lord.
I'm the badass first lord, and whatever. And she's like, I also know something else about you. You like to gloat. So fire-crafted sword pierced upwards through the legs, cauterizing the wound as it goes. And he's smart enough to know, like, oh, this has killed me, and flings the divorce papers, and she's now bald and scarred and everything. It's not a pretty divorce, but they're very practical about it. Because apparently Alerans are pragmatic. That's their folly, So
it was a wasted opportunity not to have an Arnie line there. You've been served.
Yeah, like very Arnold, Thanks, Taylor.
Yeah. All right. So now the future of Alera has changed, because having Aquitaine injured in such a way, it's not going to be able to be healed at all. It's a gut wound that goes up in horrible directions, and so he is going to die. Therefore, he's not fighting his own mortality. Very pragmatic to a fault. It's like, oh, Tavi's going to have to take over. Well, good for him.
Hopefully,
this is a horrible situation
because I'm dying.
Hope that little shit cursor friend of him doesn't think he's not good for the realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Will we?
We still got an hour and 15. So
what?
Until she explodes, I think. So.
Okay. So, this was a fun little bit. They get to Phrygia, and they're trying to get information and resources, because Alera is trying to give as much information to Tavi as possible, but still Phrygia and back to Reva, all this is great. This kid was fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Tavi,
he really has a way of making, even though we just see him this one time, I was just like, I want more of this guy. Like these, why are these side characters also like? He's good at fleshing them out. I think is what it's.
I was gonna say this kid and Schultz should be should have like their own side thing.
Yeah.
And Schultz just non-committally looked to the side. He was the smartest of them all.
Yeah. So they take a few people in to see Phrygia, who it's the city town thing. Lord and older brother is gone trying to fight and defend things, and so it's the younger brother who is like the younger son, I should say, is it's like 16, and he's in charge, and everyone is like actually listening to him at the age of 16.
Even though he's got a stammer.
Yeah,
right.
And so at first it's like, okay, maybe they think that he's a bit nervous talking to Tavi, the First Lord, and the giant 9-foot kingdom of Varg. If like anyone would be scared of that, he's not scared at all. He just has a stutter when he talks, and blah blah blah.
Well, it's also when they get to the sand map and he's already like adjusting it prior to Tavi telling him to, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta hire this guy." You don't see competency like that very often,
no.
Right?
Yeah. But also,
I think it's high or something. He's even like mentions about how he's impressive in some way. He's like, "Hands off! I saw him first."
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that's exactly what he says. Yes, you're right.
So the kid's name is Syracuse, and he says to Varg, "You are welcomed as a guest, but if you hurt anyone under my Lord Father's protection, I will hurt you." Like, I will kill you myself, he says. And so Varg's like, ooh, this is familiar with Tavar, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. Remind you of anyone?
Yeah, like, I believe I had a knife to your throat. And yes, it landed your certain gravitas or some such. Like,
yeah. It did make your point stick a little better.
Yeah.
So they're changing information, and he's obviously clearly competent. People around him are actually listening to a 16-year-old, meaning that he has proven himself. And it's just like, if we survive this kid has to have a job. He has to like manage something and just deal with every problem I don't want to deal with. And let's see. I have logistics preparing provisions and supplies for your forces since Antylos arrived yesterday. You've got like 2 weeks of this and as much as we can give you. And Kintai says in Cainish, I may be in love. And Tavi says, I saw him first. Varg is just laughing in the Cainish style of his ears quivering.
Bernard and Amara are going to adopt this kid later and be like, we got to keep him around.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's a citizen plus, so he's fine.
It's even better. He comes with his own bank account, probably. Because I mean, his dad gets it later. So, and I don't remember if they mentioned the brother or not, but
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, the guy now.
Right.
I also like how the thing Tavi notes on him is how even though he stutters and he's young and he could be, privileged because he's like, look at the Clark, what's his name? Yeah. Anyway, he seems to command the complete respect of his dad's men. Like they actually respect him and look to him.
He must have also grown up on a farm. So
yeah, it's Citizen Tavi. That's what it is.
Right.
And his weakness, his adversity, what has made him
it was the stutter.
Is the stuttering. Yeah,
right, that's right. Yeah, that was his farm. His farm was his speech impediment.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It went with him everywhere he went. Oh, because that had to, like, people like a Brensis type would have been, no matter who he's the son of, would have been shitting on him day and night for that kind of thing.
Right.
That's a weakness.
All right. So, back to everything's happening in Caldron Valley. People are trying to flee. Bernard basically had his jaw broken by Invidia, and he can not really talk. But some very big, ominous war drums start happening, and the ground is shaking. And Aaron's on a wagon. It's like, what the fuck is happening? And everyone's freaking out. And Daroga appears with half of the Marat, and it's like, I'm here to help.
Good morning.
Good day. Like, oh, we just got help that we didn't expect. But then Amara has issues of trying to get Daroga in to talk to Aquitaine because there's a shithead legionnaire that's saying like, he is a barbarian, he is a Marat, and he is our enemy. Like, he is coming to help us, and he's the head of the Marat legions as much as we can say, and you better let him in to help. And
I was going to say, I think that happens in every book, isn't there? There's a shithead legionnaire that they have to punch in the face. Yeah.
So Amara punches him in the face and possibly breaks a bone in her hand.
Oh, she definitely breaks her wrist. Because I think doesn't Veretis have to heal her or whatever?
Yeah. At the meeting, she's like, "What happened to your wrist? It's for good cause, hand or whatever." Like, it worth it.
There was a shithead. That's all. Also,
but this was a very particular shithead because this was like Brensis' friend shithead. And it's like, oh, okay, right. So that's who you're gonna go to battle with over this.
Right. I like how we actually get those Grab and Goyle. Like they're both mentioned in this book.
Right. They come out of freaking nowhere.
Is a slave, right? Later. I think.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. He was a disciplined collard and a slave, and dies because that's how Brensis treats his friends. So the shithead legionnaire, it really doesn't make sense, but it is kind of a human thing, and it's a great type of bad guy.
They got practiced on, that. Like Brensis took them first, I'm sure, because they were right hand,
Probably.
And maybe even Brensis thought that he was doing the thing that was kind to his friends because he kept saying,
"This is the side that's going to win." Way that Brooke was whatever, and all that fun stuff.
So there's a small discussion of between Isana and the board queen and Invidia, and she's trying to do her own kind of like soft power politicking between them, and it's all these women talking to each other in ways that doesn't really make sense. And Isana's trying to teach the board queen.
Why? Because they're women.
Sometimes, also because
I'm just making sure that you're the one saying that.
Just let her.
Yeah,
build
as long as
this
she's willing to take this one.
Side, All right. I just like you people should say what you mean and mean what you say, and then just stop it.
Again, that's why Katai is the best. Because she's the woman and she says what she means. I mean, come on. What more do you
need? So Board Queen doesn't understand Alerans, and Isana says things like the more that you fight them and the more that you hurt, the more determined they're going to get. It's like, that is irrational. It doesn't make sense. It does make sense.
Yeah.
Because they're fighting for their lives. Like, you don't get to like take away the sense of hope and determination just because they're losing.
Yeah, just a short aside on this, that it's like another major kind of flaw that I wouldn't have expected out of the Vord is that it's apparently really good that they don't have genetic memory, like, of all the peoples that they fought, because like if this queen is descended from a race that has conquered like thousands of worlds and shit, you're telling me in thousands of worlds they've never run into anybody like this? Like, you know.
Well, that's the thing. She seems to indicate, especially with her trying to rationalize how she's going to make these connections and learn from it, that it's the kind of thing that is going to be adapted into them and carry on later, because she says like we've of all the things we've learned and as time goes on, but then it's also like, okay, the Marat didn't care about each other when you killed all of them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe it's part of her defectiveness is that, you know, she's the first Vord that incorporates the other, you know, the other stuff or whatever, but.
So in part, one of the reasons why the Vord family dinners are so creepy and off-putting is it takes them weeks, Isana and Invidia together, to convince the Vord Queen to allow them to wash the dishes because she doesn't understand the idea of dirty dishes. And then she makes Isana wash them because like, okay, if you care about this, you will do it. And Isana's got nothing else to do, so whatever. And it's better than eating off of dirty... Croach casserole with cheddar on a dirty dish is just like, it could be a little bit better. A little bit.
Really?
I thought she was going to use that water in some way, but that never really came up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought for a second she was going to like poison Invidia, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not that she doesn't have enough of that going on in her already, but.
Mm-hmm.
Could she be any more poisoned?
She's a vampire, man. Garlic will do that to you.
So this is where we get some of the conversation of Invidia and Isana of how different they are, and Invidia admitting that she arranged for Rhodas and Caleris to kill Septimus because he had turned her down, and Isana is obviously, whether she put it together from the letter or not, she was still kind of shocked to hear it, angered to hear it. She already hated Invidia for everything. Now she just hates Invidia even more. And they have a very different worldview. Invidia says, like, everyone's just out for themselves and they want the acclaim for having done good things, but they don't care. And Isana's like, no, people are self-sacrificing and actually do care about each other. And it's not about self-serving nature. But Invidia is incapable of understanding it. Isana is trying to work Invidia in a specific way, though, of like, I can get you freedom. I know of something that will cure you if you do something that I say. And she just kind of lets it fester in Invidia's mind for a little while because she has nothing else to do. She just has to wait. Invidia is desperate for doing anything that's going to protect herself. And so she's not going to let that type of hint go unnoticed.
Mm-hmm. You can always count on Invidia to be out for number one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yeah.
So now Tavi is trying to close in on his side. He's got all of the Canaan troops that he possibly can, all of his Aleran troops, and they're trying to walk, and they've got like 30 miles to make in a day, and the roads are messed up, and the Canaan can't use the Furycraft roads anyway, and it's raining. It's raining on everything. So everything reeks of wet dog. And then Katai says things like, well, it is also smelling like wet Alerans and you don't smell great yourself.
This is the one where Max is like, she's kidding, right?
She's joking, right?
Right.
She's joking. And Tavi's like, almost certainly. Katai says nothing. And then they do some bit of work, and then she walks away, and or she's about to walk away, and Tavi's like, you were joking, right? She just says nothing. The first time in history, Alerans and Kanem pitched a camp together, and it is awkward, but it works.
Well, they're going to get more intimate and closer later.
Yeah. Baby steps, but it's working. They need the Kanem to be some of the night sentries because they can see better in the dark, and the trust is, even though they've gotten kind of familiar with each other, trust is still kind of an iffy thing, and they're still 9-foot wolves that wolfish smiles, big giant predators, all things like that.
That's the only kind of smiles they have, guys. Get over it.
Right. But Varg and Tavi are still not forgetting about the fact that someone tried to kill Tavi, and Tavi killed 2 of the Kanem makers, and that needs to be answered for. And so they go talk to someone named Marat. Marat is one of the ritualists.
It's a great scene. This is like really fun.
Yeah, Master Crawl speaks for the blood speakers, and so the makers. And so I will summon him to come talk to me. And he's not here. He can't talk. So
why? He's gutted in the ground, dead, suffocated. What? How'd that happen?
Yeah, he's disappeared and abandoned you all. How convenient. They don't even actually fully know what Marcus and Shaw has done. Well, maybe Varg does, but
Varg knows his hunter did something, at least. But Spymaster doesn't tell his leader, plausible deniability. Yeah.
So they speak to Master Marat, and he comes out of the ritualist tent, and he says to Varg, "Oh, no one's killed you yet?" And Varg says basically the same thing. And it's like, Gadara, this is my enemy. Pleased to meet you. And the back and forth, and like, are all Gadaras, we're all friends.
It's like, good to see you, buddy. In Kanem, essentially.
Yeah. And they have this code, and the code says that for a blood answer when an outsider kills one of us, regardless of the circumstances. And Varg protests that he's not an outsider because he's Gadara. I was like, well, he's still an outsider, even if he is Gadara. But Tavi's like, so if Laurel had done what Tavi had done, what would the answer be to Laurel? What would he have to pay? They would have to be giving a certain amount of blood. It's like, well, for the amount of blood that were in 2 Kanem, 9 feet tall, Tavi, like even if he's like 6.5 feet tall, nowhere near that can he give that enough. It's like, so Tavi's, what if I give it over time? What if I just donate blood?
Pay an
installment billing?
Yeah,
a payment plan.
We'll do it with insurance or like interest, all that. But
yeah, well, they did briefly have such like, what if you just kill 2 Aleran in response for the 2 Kanems? Like, no, never possible. Which it makes the problem worse because it's not an answer, but of course it makes them respect Tavi more, that it not being an answer, and the installment plan, and it will be measured out correctly by Marat, who's head of the ritualist now, and so everyone can just agree and be happy. And this makes everyone like Magnus and Maximus and even Katai quite angry. It's like, what do you mean you're going to let them just leech blood from you? This is a bad thing. You are injuring yourself constantly.
Don't some of the ritualists like complain too? But
well, one of them comes out to make a stink about it, and he gets summarily.
Yeah,
he gets dismissed.
Yeah,
he gets his guts pulled out,
and then he turns back around and is like, hey, anybody else? And then one gets up to close the tent.
Yeah, that's the only answer they get is a hand that comes out of the tent and like closes it. That's it.
Like, we're good.
So
we're good.
There was a ritualist named Nar, and he comes up and it's like, this is not good enough. This is not dishonor. And Marat just looks at him like, what were their names? Like, what? These people that you care so much about, what were their names? Right. You can't answer me that? Go the fuck away.
Yeah.
But Marat, because he's the good one, does know their names, and he is caring about them. So they have resolved everything, made more enemy friends, and payments. Yeah, and Foss, the Tribune Medica, very fun, and he's also quite pissed off at Tavi of getting blood drained regularly. Foss is great.
I hope he has a happy ending.
Just watercraft more blood. Like, that's how it works, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's already liquidy.
Yeah.
Or put some red food dye in it. What the hell? Who cares?
Well,
they will.
Yeah, they'll know. They'll smell it. They'll know.
Well, that and when they go to cast their spell, and they're like, "What the shit is this?"
What is corn syrup?
Yeah, but if that ritualist dies, then who cares? You can't. You're not going to rat him out. It's like they gave me water blood. He'll be dead.
In this conversation is when Marcus has supposedly had a frightful thing happen to his heart, and that's why he's no longer the first spear, and he's kind of just taking it easy and things like that. And Tavi says that
he's a great metaphor, actually. Something did happen to his heart.
True. But he orders Foss to remember that Foss treated Marcus for his heart, and it did order Marcus to have it easy on duty and not be marching around as first spear anymore. You remember, right? And Foss like, okay, fine.
Right, yes, sir.
Yeah. Kind of scary, but sure.
Yeah. And then Foss takes advantage of like, okay, I'm doing this, but now I order you eat, sleep, and drink a lot of water. No arguments.
It's Mirror's I think we're about to hit into that scene with Amara, where it's like, didn't you tell you to sleep for 12 hours? She said that because she knew that I would sleep 6.
Right.
Yeah. And Tavi's able to recognize that Alera had just manifested herself and was hanging around. And there's a discussion that there's so many times that Alerans are fury crafting and they don't recognize it because they're just so used to doing it. And now Tavi's getting to the point of he just fury crafts all the time without being able to recognize, but he spent so long without it that it's still a little bit more apparent to him when something is working or not working. And now he's just like always mildly watercrafting himself after he gets injured in stupid ways and taking stupid risks.
Right. Steel crafting like gets a little bit more front and center, but they're, because it's like he acknowledges when he's doing it, but steel crafting's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, that's a big deal about why like the High Lords can do some of the stuff they could do. Like obviously they can make the big fire and a big bunch of other stuff, but the steel crafting is how they're just like tough to put down, and how they can hide their emotions from watercrafters, which is why Isana not being able to do that is a big deal. So,
yeah, and this is also his reason of like, I can keep going, I'm invincible, I can do everything because of the steel crafting. It's like, no, you're not. It has to end at some point. There's strain that you just can't feel, and pain is important feedback.
When does this get brought up in Jim's works again? It sounds familiar somehow. Winter
pain
night
being important.
Something.
Right.
Something about a mantle. All right. See. Daroga gets to talk to Aquitaine after Mara breaks her hand on a shithead's face. And Daroga is, of course, very charming. And Aquitaine is very injured and dying. And he has no problem with just like, oh, thank you for your help. Thank you for being here. Tell us everything that you can. Because he's actually not a bad guy. He's not an asshole as much as he...
Well, they address it too. It's like, you're the one that basically tried to get my clansmen to kill us all and all this other thing. He's like, yeah. It's like, we're going to have a disagreement about this in the near future. He's like, I should very much like to believe that because he knows he's not making it past that afternoon.
Right.
That would be great. I would really like
that.
Yeah. Yeah, he is an asshole. He's just not evil-ish, compared to like Invidia and a few others, it's
he's
hard.
He's
holy shit. Jim's like, yeah.
He's like a scaled down version of Nicodemus because he's not actually trying to burn the whole world, and he doesn't have. It's not like personal to him.
Have we been reading the wrong Nicodemus? Like Nicodemus is trying to burn down the world.
I'm saying Aquitaine is not.
Like, sure.
He's a scaled down version. He's like,
sure.
They both think they're doing the right thing for warped reasons, but
Invidia's closer to Nicodemus for sure. Yeah, she wants to burn down the world so that she could stay warm. whereas Nicodemus wants to burn down the world so he can. I don't know. I'm still stuck on my own theory where I think he's just doing it so he can protect creation in a weird kind of way, you know. But,
right?
Well, because humans bring in the outsiders, they're the big good. We need to be cold,
right?
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
And so they have they move past the fact that Aquitaine actually admitted to participating in treason and orchestrating treason now that he's the first Lord, Princeps, something or other. It's very awkward to everyone except for Daroga. And he just says
he's not going to be around for...
yeah. Daroga is just like, Ford are more important, so we'll argue about that for now. Okay, we'll help each other. Because Daroga's great. And Amara starts describing some of the series of walls that they have built around Garrison, of like the higher ones in the middle and the rings outwards and all these things. And people go like, how the fuck did you get all this money? How did you do this over the course of 5 to 8 years? Like, this isn't fair. You've been hiding things from us. It's like, if anyone who flew over there would have noticed it, you haven't bothered to. And where did we get the money? That Dianic League decided. Yeah, it was all the women that...
Well, yeah, that was it. Arya's husband is like a little concerned for a minute, and then she just like Dianically, he's like, none of my business. And he's like, he's fine. He's like,
all I needed to know.
Yeah, did you do this, huh? Like, did she give all this? I mean, she would have checked with me, right? The Dianically. Oh, well, that's not my concern. That's the women. I mean,
so, hands off.
Is it here or in one of the next chapters where Reva's like talking to Lord Cauldron? It's like, I feel like I should have known. You're my subject, and the fucking busybody appointed you, and like I should have known.
That's a little bit later.
Yeah, but things like that happen. Like there was some like Senator Valeris or something about, where did you get all this money and this problem? And Angelus Rockus, like, who gives a fuck? We don't care where it came from. We need it now. Thank them for their foresight, and that's it.
Right.
Oh, and this is what Placida picked up Valeris, grabbed him by his tunic, flung him out of the tent into the mud, and just Rockus called him an ass. And then it's like, thank you, Placida. And we're all just going to continue talking like grown-ups now. It's all they just... Yeah, stop doing the political scheming. We don't have time for it.
Come back here when you can challenge me to Juros Macdo. So
I feel like there's a theme here of humanizing the High Lords, right? Like how mysterious and powerful they seem at the start, and how much more human they are towards the end of the series. Even Lady Placida, who shows up with the bird on her arm, is like, who seems the most human, like the most approachable. They're all just. It's funny how to think about how, and when they're bickering and how they went to the academy and how they know, like all that, they just get very humanized, and it's very it's great. I really like that.
Yeah.
All right. So the things that Rockus and Placida and Angelus and everyone doesn't exactly know is that between them there's the board that's coming up to attack them, and then there's Tavi on its heels. They can do a pincer movement, but only Tavi knows this. They just need to actually like get coordinated in a way, and everyone survives at the right place. So Aquitaine and everyone is retreating to Garrison, going east, and the Vord is following them, but the Vord is also leaving Reva. They kind of have a food storage essentially at Reva, and Tavi is going to take all of his people of the Canaan and the Alerans and destroy it. Just destroy the whole city and destroy all of the food stores.
Nice food store you got there. Shame if something were to happen to it.
Yeah, quite exactly. And
tonight
like, they could
we dine in Croach.
Horrifying. Worse than hell. Marcus points out, Marcus Fidelius, as he's switching names back and forth, like, you could just like walk around it. It's like, but they could still use the resources. We need to destroy it in that way. Also, we need to be tested. These people haven't actually fought the Vord quite yet, not in a full-scale way. It's just been small skirmishes. And Tavi needs to be tested. He needs to show his power as the First Lord.
So I'm going to go.
So he's going to do something that several other lords couldn't have done, theoretically, because this is Tavi. So it's not just like, we're going to do just a little bit. He's going to just be like, oh yeah, totally. Several of the High Lords have probably been fortifying these walls and these gates and everything like that. Me by myself, TM slash, whatever, me slash Alera in my pocket are going to break down the gates.
I'm gonna go kick open that door over there. Be right back.
Yeah, right.
It's like twofold here, right? Also, like he approaches it differently than they would. He doesn't use destructive energy like the classical destructive. He uses the more life growth things, but that can also be destructive. And then it's also it gets a bit too much juice, so he looks way more impressive than he planned on doing.
And then he turns around and flexes and was like, "That was just 10% power." So
Yeah.
But like, wow.
Yeah. So in the plan is he's going to go knock on the door alone, except of course he's going to have Katai with him because Katai's not going to let him do anything alone anymore and something or other. But Marcus is like, "Why are you letting her do this?" Like, well, you try to tell her that she can't.
Right.
And she makes comments of like how
do you want to go back on the cross? Because she'll put you back on the cross.
She makes a comment about how to do the fury crafting, and it's like Marcus is like, wait, Marat don't fury craft. This isn't possible.
Yeah, right, you are. So anyway, we'll be right back.
Yes. And Tavi just like, she is? Are you sure? We hadn't noticed this before. And if you haven't noted that our dear ambassador has very little regard for proprieties.
Right.
Well, nobody ever told her she couldn't do it, so she just fucking did it.
Yeah.
Easy.
And even if they had told her she couldn't do it, she wouldn't give a shit.
But, she even gives Tavi a compliment here, where it's like, I don't remember her wording exactly. I mean, Alex probably has it up. Where she's like, I am good at this and this, but he is generally better because he can do this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he can do the bigger movements and the stronger powers, but she can do the better, finer pointed things because this is
better control. He's more boom boom.
Yeah, like Harry Dresden versus everyone else who has a skill.
Yeah, surprisingly thinking about Molly in this instance. So just saying.
Yeah.
Ship confirmed. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Not that I care.
But he's the opposite of Tavi, so
Yeah, but Molly's smarter than him, so there's that. Still.
Oh, so Molly's the big hero of the Dresden Files.
Thus far, it's probably like a 3-way tie between her and the Brownies and Bob
as being the big heroes. The Brownies.
So several pages are spent on the mechanics, and it's a great passage of like how is he's drawing up the water and the plants and the freezing and everything, and then the city explodes with Vords, and he breaks down the things that like it hasn't been considered impossible, and he did it over the course of like maybe an hour's worth of effort. And then the Vords start attacking, and him and Katai get out of there, and they have their special horses that are so good, and everything that was very impressive worked very well on Katai, apparently. And so he is dragged off the battlefield and onto a wagon, and he's going to shut up and deal with it.
Work.
Yeah. But now Tab...
we can deal with propriety later. You were kind of hot just then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. See, this freaks out the queen, the board queen, as it's supposed to, because the food storage that she was relying on is now gone. They have destroyed the city and the pantry.
My saltines.
The hardtack.
I'm pretty sure hardtack's better than Croach.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. So otherwise, what the queen has to do is actually start cannibalizing the other board. It's sending them into the Croach to make more of it so that other board can eat it and all sorts of crazy things like that. And it seems a bit strange to Invidia, but like the queen is very practical about it. It's like some of them are just going to go to inert and no longer need food and they're like cryostasis essentially. And other ones are going to start eating it as we need to, because she feels that this victory is so close that if she pushes through anything and she wins, it's all worth it. In Invidia, understanding all of this says something like, since we're being candid, I know that once you succeed, you will no longer have need of me, and I don't really want to help you because then you're just going to kill me quicker. And the Board Queen says, well, you can be the first Lady Aleran of all of the remaining Alerans for as long as they're going to live. If that...
Yeah, she makes her governor, basically.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And she can have as comfy a life as possible under Board Queen rule.
I'll even give you salt for your croach.
And cheddar.
And could you imagine like
the cheese that just...
I was going to say, could you imagine like feta cheese on that thing?
It really needs like a blue cheese.
Oh yeah, real pungent.
That's what I'm saying. Like or like a strong Munster or something. Ugh.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather eat the croach than some of these cheeses, quite honestly.
There's some pretty bad cheeses up there.
There are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a significant portion French, and there's some cheeses even I won't eat. But
the Epoise.
I don't know. I haven't tried all of them. I just know that.
Assume if we can't pronounce it, he's gonna eat it.
Yeah.
But like supposedly it's Napoleon's favorite cheese, if I'm remembering the correct name for it, and it is so smelly that it's like banned from being on trains and stuff because
nice.
It fills up like city blocks.
Wow.
Well, he didn't have trains to deal with. He had open air carts.
Yeah.
So it was fine.
So everyone hated him even more.
Yeah, right. I think I'm a little too tall for Napoleon's cheese, but maybe someday I'll try it.
It'll bring you down a peg or two.
Yeah, right. Maybe that's why it was so short.
Yep.
So
it's all the fucking cheese. I'm glad we had this detour. It was important.
As in the sparring of the Board Queen and Isana and Invidia, and the Queen is saying to Isana of like, here's what your child did 5 minutes ago, and it pisses me off. And Isana gets to see basically like a tape recording equivalent in the water of what Tavi had done, breaking down the walls, and it's flabbergasting, and Isana feels very proud, and it's like, oh, if only Septimus could see him. And then the Board Queen's like, was it difficult to raise him without a father? And there was Bernard in there. Like the family questions still get very awkward and personal because the Queen is just going to ask all the personal questions that most people wouldn't. And then the Queen says again of like, if she tries to have daughters of daughter queens, they all try to kill her, and so she can't have them anymore. And it hurts her in ways that she doesn't understand.
Another thing she and Mab could bond over. My daughter wants to kill me. What else is new?
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah, it's true. Let's see, so this is the beginning of a battle, one of the board wars, and like Antyllus Raucus is complaining that his armor is wrong, and Phrygia said, "You slept in it, you idiot! And you shouldn't have done that." And now it's like there's a dent in it.
You're not a
kid
like, anymore.
Yeah, you're
put a dent in you, boys.
I'm young enough to toss your short ass right off this wall. And Arya's like, boys, stop.
Children.
Like, this is very entertaining. I just don't remember what it connects to.
Yeah, it's very adorable having them all together, because it's like they're friends and they haven't seen each other for a while, and they're a bunch of badasses to boot, So, like Andreas said, he does a really good job of humanizing them and everything. So
yeah,
it's like when the senior council gets together and they're like, I haven't seen you since Korea. Except they see each other a lot more.
Yeah.
Lord Placidus said things to Amara of like, we all owe you our lives, and oh, you're so adorable. And Arya says, you don't get to hug the pretty little girl. Damn, foiled again.
God damn.
There's a signal arrow that goes up, and then it's like, oh, things are happening. And Raucus says, well, there it is. Brilliant last words, Phrygia said beside him. We'll put all in our memorandum right next to he died stating the obvious.
The obvious. Which is better than Harry's tombstone, quite honestly. Right. That's the one he should get.
Yeah.
He died making a pop culture reference.
Yeah.
Phrygia says he died stating the obvious, and then Placidus says, it begins. And Phrygia's like, see, he knows how to go out with style.
Yeah, he knows.
You want to go out with style, I'll strangle you in your best silk tunic. Like bickering back and forth. It's so much fun.
Gotta get that nervous energy out somehow.
Oh God. And I was looking for one of the other lines. We'll find it eventually. Between more like Phrygia and Antyllus mostly. They're hilarious.
No, and Ceres gets to go. He doesn't get words, but he just gets to go out being awesome.
In a little bit, but yes, he gets a very good moment all to himself. And this is kind of when Reva starts arguing with Bernard again of like, I didn't appoint you, that upstart did, and like, how dare he, and how dare you be doing a good job of it? So like, well, you should have failed. And Bernard's like, good thing he did appoint me, and I did do a good job. Right. You're welcome.
But you're making me look bad. You know.
But this is a moment
that how much of a dick he seemed during the Senate meeting. He gets way more likable here.
Right.
Yeah, Reva realizes like, I guess I was wrong. I'm not supposed to be wrong. But how dare he be right? But he is right, and now I'm going to help him. And Giraldi's all around here and just like, somebody has some brains now because he didn't 20 years ago.
Well, then you contrast that with later, and I know I'm jumping ahead, but where, Bernard still shows a little bit of difference to Graham. And it's like, that's just polite. Because he can be polite and diplomatic if he wants to.
If you're worth it.
If you're worth it. If you're, throwing fire around and killing things.
Yeah. And this is also like Reva's asking, like, how the hell did you keep it all hidden? It's like, most people just don't leave the road. And so it was easy to keep it hidden as long as we didn't go up to the road, which we didn't do until this moment. Also,
nobody comes to this podunk town.
Yeah. And plain sight. That's how we kept it hidden.
We left the things, like we moved it up and it was just under the ground. That's relevant.
How should keep this hidden? Well, here's what we did. Nothing. And none of you came to visit.
Because you thought we would fail.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that question so I can spend the next 5 minutes telling you my entire evil plan.
Some descriptions of knights and board and battles, and I'm going to skip through things like this. Let's see. Aaron is in part of this, and he's going to go up against the wall with some of Graham and some of the others to try to manage some delicate thing of maneuvering, as well as a secondary plan he's not telling anyone yet because it works better that way. But Graham is handling a signal fire.
I wonder where Tavi gets it from.
Tavi gets it from himself. Aaron had it trained into him.
I was gonna say Bernard does a lot of the.
Bernard does it a lot too.
A lot of the we need to know information.
Yeah. So the funny thing about Bernard is that he also grew up on a farm. So
he ran the farm.
Right.
I like how they talk about it's Frederick Hole, I think it is now, Elder Frederick. Before it was Isana Hold, and we talk about how it was Bernard Hold. Like, I never liked that.
Me Hold.
Yeah. It's very odd sounding to hear your own name that way. And they had a decent plan of this, of like, they're just going to set everything on fire, of like, they had people bringing up all of like the oil into the croton into the ground, and the board is going into it. And people like Graham are waiting for it to be overrun, and then they're going to set it on fire. And
right, which is another wild thing, kind of like seeing them do it with the salt. It's just like, apparently earth crafting includes all of the minerals and oil, which is technically organics, but whatever. So
well, you can like, I don't know, like negative put everything that is not oil down, and so the oil goes up. Like you can play with it. Just gonna shortcut it of they drenched everything in that area. And right. Graham set it on fire, and then something hurts Aaron. Let's see, was it like an arrow or something? Or
it's a Mantis warrior that
Mantis warrior.
Impales him to the wall.
Because the Mantis guys are the front lines right now. So
yeah, okay.
Yeah, you get a lot of back and forth with like the Mantis warriors are like piercing the sides of the walls with their claws to like make handholds, but then the Earth Crafters will just push the holes right back out of the wall, and just like a lot of back and forth with the battle crafting and stuff.
Yeah. And Frederick is there, and as he means well, but he always needs someone to point out the obvious to him. And Graham says, Earthcraft the wall out so that we can move Aaron, because you don't pull the mantis scythe out of him, because then his guts are just going to come out with it.
Right.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then...
Yeah. It was a bummer that he died here, though. So
he should have had Raucus with him because he points out the obvious.
Right.
Which would have been the perfect combination, him and Frederick.
Yeah, that's a power duo, Frederick and Raucus. Yes, Aaron dies.
He got better.
I was pretty broken up when he died. It was, I was like, I mean, it makes sense because it's the last book, and if there's going to be a bunch of glorious deaths, now's the time to do it. But I was just like,
there are some of those. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Bernard is doing something to Reva, but Tavi did this at the Island Arc, only backward. How's that? So at the Island Arc, he heated up the paving stones first to make it hard for them to get away. And because Bernard and Tavi, as a reoccurring theme in especially last half of this book, the letters going back and forth and all of their ideas and everything they've developed, it's like, okay, let's just do that times 100.
What else we got going on?
Yeah. And then Reva's like, you really think he's on his way? It's like, of course he is. And how do you know? Because it's Tavi.
Right.
But he has so few men because they don't know that he has the Canum, because they think that he dropped the Canum off in Cania and only has like 2 legions.
They do talk about that, guys. Like, even if he is close, it's like an elite moving force of
20,000 men or something. Yeah,
not 27 men.
Yeah,
they talk about how he only has like 2 flyers as well, and then it's like, oh no, he's coming with I don't know, what is it, 100,000, 40, 50k Canum and the same legion.
He just has the problem of getting them moving, and they're about to start moving. But first, we're going to discuss Tavi being tricked when he got drawn into that wagon on Katai's orders. It wasn't just because Katai ordered it; it was also he had been fed, and then laced a Froden wine was given to him. He had a very fun night with Katai.
You tricked me into pleasure. How dare you?
Yeah.
Like Ephrodin,
sleeping,
not Ephrodin.
So
he got sleep and some other things. Sleep happened at some point, and he hasn't been getting enough lately of anything.
Sleep, breakfast. These are things a First Lord doesn't need.
Right.
Yeah, but as he's very relaxed, and you can just hear that everyone's still alive outside, and it's fine. And then he's like dwelling on the presences next to him, and then he's like, "Presences? Multiple?
Right.
That's not possible. That's not fair."
For a second there, I thought that Katai's cousin had joined them or something.
That would have been funny.
And he had a really good night. No.
Yeah.
Suddenly it makes sense why she won't leave his side, and she's acting a little less Alera and rational than usual. So
no, it's just Tavi has discovered a power of sonograms.
Right.
Yeah. But Katai has known for she's basically 3 months along and pregnant, and this is also why she started asking, like, what is marriage customs? What is going to happen to this child? Right. Obviously assuming that she lives, and she's also not going to not be in any fight, because how dare you tell her that she can't be, even though she's pregnant, blah, 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 things like that. But Octavia's like, you didn't tell me. She kind of is telling him now by accident, but
you didn't ask.
Yeah,
so
you didn't.
Once again, this isn't Susan 7 books later, but maybe you could have informed him at some point. So,
well, she also, she kind of has a point of one being scared and not knowing what's going on, but like making sure he lays the groundwork in certain ways of proving himself, and she still doesn't know what the hell is going to happen. And she points out, your people are insane about the birth of children, what may happen, what may not happen, and what must happen, and in the order of events, and the fact that she's getting pregnant before they're married, and that's wrong, and that's bad, and everything like that.
It's also way normal. So yeah, even if you got religious parents, maybe you should do some math on when people got married versus when you were born. And, like, that's how I found mine out. So I was like, hey, I could do math. That's not accurate.
So, my parents
that's
never
why Tavi
married
comes
at
up
all.
with the math solution at the end of this, or several different versions of it. Because it's like, 1, we can do what we want. 2, if we need to, we can do what we want.
Yeah, like obviously, she knows Max, right? Max is a good friend and she knows how that worked out. She also knows Tavi and how Tavi fixes everything. And so it just like it kind of just strikes me in the moment that it's like obviously Tavi's going to have a solution, and
we've actually been married all along,
right?
That one didn't occur to her for some reason.
Because per their customs, like it was hard to not get into that earlier, right? But it was like, we did a trial of your choosing and I won, which means I get your hand in marriage. And since you're a foreign dignitary, we got to respect that, So
it's just, listen, my hands are tied. I don't. Yeah. We've been married for years,
right? Which is great and kind of adorable on his part, So
yeah, but. Yeah, she's worried about the idea of bastards.
And she's worried about like, well, but we had the baby before the marriage. Are you kidding me? My younger brother's 30 years older than I am. Like, what are you on about? Alerans don't care that much about the calendar, guys. Like, so.
Rule of law versus spirit.
Right? Like, I'll just write a letter that says we've been married for like 6 years and it's fine. So.
I hereby authorize myself. Hey, I can do that.
Tavi kind of just says like we can just get married immediately and then like tell a story and backdate something like that. It's a polite fiction and it works and all the time. It's just the way that things Alera society works. And she's like, that's so stupid. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And then they go like, well, we should do this because then it would be used to taunt the child. And he would have this problem. And she says, or her. And then he does it back to her the other direction of like, they really don't care. It's he or she or whatever. Just like, I'm going to continue on with the sentence. Like it would forever be a weakness in someone that will be able to exploit if the child is a bastard. Like, if the child gives them that power, like it doesn't need to be. And that's more how Tavi says, like, we're just not going to care. Whatever. It's our child. Who cares?
He's going to grow up on a big farm.
Right. So that's he can inherit the superpowers. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he points out like the fact that you could consider them married for the past 15 years and or like 10 years and call it that. Right. Yeah. Yeah, intentions count for far less than consequences of the actions born from them. You are my wife, and I just declare it so, and I can prove it later and with paperwork, because paperwork ruins everything.
Yep.
But she's not staying behind and out of the fight. It's like, why not? Because now it really, really, really matters. It doesn't matter any more than else. There is no safe place. You can't just keep me in a bubble and actually keep me safe. She is capable, and so she should be helping as much as possible, because if they lose, then they all lose. They all die, and there should be no special treatment here.
I mean, I had the same problem with Marat doing it.
Read Codex Alera, read Dresden Files, read even Aeronaut's Windlass. Jim's sexist. All women are pretty. They're not strong and independent. They don't have character or anything on their own. No.
Yeah,
none of the
He's
women
being
in
sarcastic. If everybody has
none of the women in this book has been competent or anything at all.
I'm glad you said that, Justin, because it didn't come over in translation. It was pretty European.
Yeah, No, but I mean, my thing that bugs me here and bugged me with Amara is like, look, you're not made of glass, but you can stress it to the point where you have a miscarriage. Like even at 3 months,
we don't even talk about that as an option. Like they kind of skip over
but
the issues.
But like everybody would have legitimate concerns, but it gets turned into this whole like, well, you're holding me back, and I'm like, no, like that's not what it is at all. We're like, we got to protect the kid as much as anything. You getting hit by lightning by the Vord Queen later is going to be a really big problem unless we just don't worry about it. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, there's nuances to it. And I get annoyed that a lot of these women characters, I was like, you don't get to tell me what to do, are actually being idiots about it. I think Katai has a better option or perspective of like, she is a highly capable fighter and they need every single one of them right now. But she also points out that she knew that Tavi would want to treat her like glass this way, and she doesn't want to stay behind and not be doing something to help everyone. And so they're both just stuck, and neither one of them are going to move on this point. And so she was afraid that once she told him, then they were not going to be able to move past it. And they don't really have an answer. It's just like, they don't really get to it. But she starts having to do things to be able to keep up, and he stops trying to stop her. But Yeah, there's a lot of people like, just because I'm pregnant, I shouldn't go to war. It's like, yeah, you actually should not, because
maybe you should consult your doctor, because he's absolutely going to fucking tell you, no, you should not go to war. Like,
and
that's not how that works.
It can be a question of like the damage might be done to the pregnancy, causing a miscarriage or damage to the child, anything like that. But the way that pregnancy also changes the body, it changes in ways that you may not be able to expect. So you are different. You may not be able to predict what you're going to respond to or weak against, or like fucking morning sickness or something. Like, it can be a debilitating thing.
The battle to take a pee. I'm sorry. Like,
I mean, she's a Marat. She would just pee and then go. Let's face it.
But yeah,
very much more pragmatic. But
and she wanted to be part of the horse clan. I mean, she's got no problem with any of this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but Tavi has the ability of sonogram, and by using a loophole of the Chala bond between them, he's able to let her feel the presence of the baby.
Apparently, as a mother, you can't watercraft your own in utero because it's too close to you, or whatever. Yeah. You can't sense it.
But you can heal yourself?
I don't know.
You can't sense something that is different from yourself, inside yourself, because it's too surrounded by the mother's essence, I guess, is the idea. Until a baby is much further along. I think she says, like when it's about to be born, that maybe it's slightly different, but
sure.
More battle things and Bernard's and Graham, and I'm just like,
the battle's fantastic, but we do got to speed it up. One of my favorite early things, like there's so many good tactics, right? So they've got multiple walls, they've got at least 3 layers. They have this entire thing where they leave their flank next to the mountain open because the mountain is angry. No, but like specifically, they lure like a huge chunk of the board up next to Gyarados and Thana. And then Gyarados and Thana just are like, we got your back. We're mad about it, but we've got your back, and they smash the board,
predictably angry,
Well, even Alera's like, I mean, she's about as crazy as he is, so you might want to deal with this.
Right. So, but yeah, then the mules and Bernard realizes that this has changed warfare forever, because they just put warfare in the common man's hand, not just citizens. Now anybody can do it.
Anybody can do the boom boom.
Yep.
Yeah. And these are, I always thought of them as trebuchets, but you say that they're catapults, but whatever. They throw explosive, like they did the thing with the cold stones of creating the fire
stones, basically.
Yeah. And it only takes a couple of hours for a firecrafter to do it, which is huge. It's not necessarily something that they can do infinitely during battle. They do start running out of ammo, but it only is
it's when they're glass, right? They can like easily do the firestone thing, but they are not as, they're fragile, but that's fine because they're bombs.
Idea.
They hit and explode, and this is it's great. Okay. Invidia is trying to get something out of the board queen of like, let me deal with this. I can deal with all of this if you just give me all of the earth crafters. And the board queen says, you may not have them. So fuck off.
Because she's using them for something else, right?
Yes. And then not telling Invidia. So Invidia doesn't understand, and just it's like, you should do this thing that it seems very sensible to me, and I'll go over this. Then
what did she keep them in reserve for?
The attack. They go underground to attack Tavi and in the middle of the camp.
Yes. Yes.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Where one of the cool, like more like favorite characters of mine dies.
Foss.
Yeah, that was good.
Foss.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that one was bad. So are we not there yet? Is that why we're not going to talk about it?
See, like there's the whole
if we're doing the battle, it's kind of everything at this point.
Back and forth and just
Well,
this is also where that's
Isana and Invidia.
And a lot happens at the same time, like, and we get it hinted. Like Invidia lands later on, and it's like we read her landing and going in 4 chapters ago. So all of this happened at the same time.
Right.
There's a back and forth of Isana and Invidia of you don't understand what's something that's logical, and Isana is pitying into Invidia, which is aggravating her to doing more things, and like more of, we see Invidia being driven by her own nature, going crazy, and it's a problem. And Isana is just kind of waiting and watching it happen. Let's see. There's a description, a callback from a one-eared Schwarin pack leader that was an idiot with something in the camp, and Maximus is hearing about it, and Octavian, it's like, Fidelius' grasp of Canaan was fairly rough, but Varg's commented something like, "Your stupidity will get fewer good warriors killed if you have time to reflect on today's mistake before leading them." And just you idiot, that they had run into back at Schwar. It's like, you're going to be in jail, so you're not like on the battle. And I think this is when we get some of the description of how they're moving everyone in tandem. So Alerans are getting put into backpacks on the backs of the Canaan, so that they can use the Fury crafted road, and the Canaan are running, and no one is really happy about this.
Right. They're wearing like some makeshift saddles, and
Yeah, and the people, there's only so many people who can do that, so there's a bunch of other Canaan that are pulling wagons full of Canaan, and they're trying to rotate through, and the ones that are the most shitheads are getting the punishment of pulling wagons. No one wants to do it. Everyone is tired.
It is smart, though, how they can, Earthcraft horses to use the Causeway's Furies to run faster, or they can do it with themselves, but they can't do it with themselves and the Carnum. But if they're mounted on them, they can. The Carnum are big, so I mean, it is sensible. So yeah, they're really getting to know each other
intimately, ways I didn't want to know. There's a small conversation between Fidelius and Tavi about, well, Tavi's kind of like, if I fail, who takes over, and all the contingencies, and he's getting quite scared and aware of his own mortality. And Fidelius now just thinks of Tavi as Octavian. In this whole passage, he's referred to as Octavian in the prose, because he's the real life thing now. And Tavi does ask, like, the Canaan, I think you know Shaw the hunter. Have you ever met Kral? And Philly says, I do not believe my duties as first spear has ever brought me in contact with him. It's the best non-answer.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And this is the attack from the Void Queen and the Earthcrafters. Octavian feels something wrong with the Earthcrafting and his new abilities, and he knows that something is going towards the command tent in a certain way, and Katai is there, and so big bad battle, and pockets of earth just kind of like start opening up in the camp, and Tavi falls into one, and then there was this old bully, one of Brentus's friends, like almost rams him through, and they kill each other within half a second, or Tavi kills him in half a second. The Void Queen is there and pins him with a fire sword into the wall, and that also kind of cauterizes things, and he has to get out of it. He's stuck in a ditch for a second, and he needs to pull himself off of it to be able to go. And he's like, if he wasn't able to do all of the crazy amount of fury crafting, he'd have died.
Right.
So she was that close to killing him. And the Void Queen knows exactly.
Crassus gets mad at him. I forgot about that. God, this is a bad chapter.
No, it's a great chapter because of all that pain. The Void Queen knows how to hit them hardest. So she's attacking the tents, and everyone's trying to chase after her. And she goes attacking the healers, and she attacks She attacks the healers. Voss takes the hit, so Dorothea is alive, because he's a soldier and she's so valuable. So Voss gets like disintegrated.
He's probably fine though. Yeah, he'll walk it off.
Yeah. Dorothea is alive, and Crassus and Maximus are follow Tavi through, and they start attacking everything. And Crassus gets badly burned by one of the explosions, and Dorothea, discipline collar still, because she can't ever take it off. She does something painful to the Void Queen because it's that important, and it like makes her start bleeding from her brain and causes a crazy amount of damage to her.
Yeah, wasn't Crassus was a handful assault?
Yeah, Crassus is hit with a handful assault while flying really fast.
Yeah,
and like
smashes right into the camp. So
yeah, he gets pretty badly injured.
Like all his bones are broken, kind of thing. Internal damage. He talks about how she was able to save him, but she's not sure he will ever walk again.
Right. Yeah.
Thus, the report he gives that you hinted at.
That's so funny. That reply was so funny.
I heard end report.
Yeah,
I heard.
Because Tavi is extremely injured. And, he's been poisoned and everything, and so there's he wakes up in the healer's tent as they put it back together, and Max is on one side unconscious, and Crassus is on the other side, barely alive or awake. And he's, soldier, report. I heard end of report. I think of that every time. I have to go exercise.
And he passes out.
Yep.
Yeah. And the description, so Max basically just took a giant hit to the head. He's had plenty of those. He'll live. He'll be fine. But Crassus is damage to his spine and everything. So he is not ever going to be able to be a knight again. And Tavi's been saved because he is the First Lord and he is that important. And Dorothea's fine with it.
It's a character development side note. There is Dorothea actually talks about Max with grudging fondness. She's
worried about him.
She's grown to care even for him.
Yeah, she worries about he is still protecting Crassus because they're brothers, and instead of being a threat to her, and now she can't really feel the same type of emotions as she was before. He's someone valuable, and she worries about his pain. All right. And then Crassus is you knew about my mother and you didn't tell me, and you that means we can't be friends anymore. And Tavi's really hurt, but he was trying to respect Dorothea, but he didn't respect his friend's wishes, and there's no winning in that situation, not really.
Right.
And so I understand Tavi and also understand Crassus, and that's what makes it so painful because they're such good friends. We want them to stay together.
Yeah, and it's just how he also says something there is no winning. Also, there's so much shit going on that since she asked him to not say it, he's barely given it a thought since because there are so many other things to think about.
Yeah.
And it's out of sight, out of mind because she's with the free Alerans and the whatever.
So Amara has a very strange visitor when she's kind of trying to sleep for half a second because that's not really allowed, but I guess there's a pause and she's trying to sleep. And Invidia just appears in the bedroom and it's I'm here to negotiate. Amara says, why the fuck do you think I care? But of course they cares because Invidia, the traitor, is going to have information that they need. And Invidia says she's going to give information of some of the battle tactics. In exchange, they're going to let her retire to some holt in the Amaranth Vale or something to live out the rest of her days. And Amara said, why the fuck should I help you? And there's an issue of credibility. Specifically, you have none.
Yeah, my word. I was your word?
Your word means nothing.
Your word means nothing. Next to nothing.
Okay. So Amara then tells all of the other High Lords, like Arya and Raucus and Placida and everyone, and they're trying to make a plan. It's do they use it? Do they change for the plan? Maybe it's its own type of trap, but of course it's going to be its own type of trap if they can figure out what it is. They can't really... Oh, here's some of the good banter. And Sirius was kind of figured out some of the things that Placida or Amara was going to try to do. It's an expensive trap. It's you aren't thinking like a bloody bug that she can afford to throw away millions of warriors, blah, blah, blah. And as Amara takes the credit from Sirius's compliment, Rock is I don't get it. And Phrygia says, don't try to figure it out. You'll hurt yourself. But Arya also doesn't get it. It's just would you please explain? And it's whether they act on Invidia's information or not, and trying to if they're trying to outmaneuver it, it's not going to work. And then they have false information. Let's see. Phrygia's eyes raucous, and maybe I'll finally get to see you knocked on your ass. When we get back, you and I are going to have a talk in which you lose your teeth, because I'm going to knock them out of your head with my fists. It's I think we all understood what you meant at the end of your first sentence, dolt. I've been looking for that.
Yeah.
And then again, so Arya goes, boys, just calm down. this whole passage ends with like they know Invidia is going to betray them. They know it. She always does. And so Bernard asks Amara, what are they going to do about it? Amara says, we're going to let her. Because they know it's coming. This is the best thing that they can do to be prepared for it. And no one really likes it, but they're going to. All right. Tavi is functional, and he gets up and he demands that everyone who is functional is going to come with him and attack the Vord Queen, like immediately. They move out in like 2 hours. Like Schultz is there and is trying, like, do you want me to round up the command officers for you? He's like, we don't have time. Just like get everyone, drop everything that you don't need. No extra boots, no tents, no food, no nothing. We're just like, go.
Put on fresh boots, fresh socks if you got them. Leave your
But don't take the spares.
We go.
So everyone who can't move, and that is also including the Antilus children, because they are still injured and unconscious. And that becomes important later.
Are left behind.
Okay, there's more Bernard and Graham in battle. And so let's just describe Ceres and his last moments because they're awesome. And as he's trying to, there's 2 different versions of the board that's coming out and attacking these, what did they call them? Behemoths? Because they were so big and they were carrying a lot of other board. And if they can defeat those, then they can basically stop the tide at some of the walls. And like Gyarados and Thana on the one side, and they're just trying to keep the other side from falling. And Lord Sirius dives right into its mouth and explodes to be able to kill it all. And so Baratus has lost the other family member that she cares so much about. But it's a great moment for him. It's very hero's death.
Right. Bringing down an Ultralisk. So. Not a good exchange rate, though. Like 1 hero to 1 Ultralisk is like the Alerans can't make them as fast.
Yeah. But I mean, it's so close and it's so important. Like it's painful how close it is. And if things just worked a little bit better, a little bit faster, then we'd be able to keep the old man around and we love him.
Right.
Yes. And even Aquitaine hearing about what Invidia is going to do, Addis just says, she's going to betray you. You know that, right? Of course.
The first words are,
don't be going to betray you.
Of
course she's going to betray us.
Don't trust her.
Like, that's the plan.
Yeah. And he's like within an hour of death and he knows it. Like
he's looking pretty freaking rough right now. Yeah.
And it smells horrible.
It smells like Courtship.
Yeah. It's like, of course she's going to... it's not ever possible that she has a change of heart. It's like, no, because a heart would be a prerequisite. And that would, as with the ability to admit she makes mistakes, you're certain of that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
I'm lying here as proof of that. Like,
yeah. And it's like, Amara's going to go with it. It's going to cost a lot of things, but she asks for some help of just the last thing that she can really get out of Aquitaine. And that is the Wind Wolves being around to help another rescue because that's what they do. They rescue people.
Apparently. Yeah.
But
that's what they were made for.
He knows he's so close to dying and it's just like, damn it, I hate not knowing the end of a story. I think everyone could agree to.
Yeah.
He's been waiting on Martin to finish his books and he just didn't make it.
Yeah.
I mean, we built the wall after it looked like such a good idea, and then he's just stopped writing the books. Like,
oh yeah, there's a detail that I skipped over. Is that when the Board Queen attacked, Fidelius took one of the bailiffs and actually shot her, and it did nothing. Yeah.
Well, it, like cracked her armor, didn't it, or something? But yeah.
She like just stood there, and it's like, ha ha.
Right.
That's how tough she is, and how scary it is. And there's officers like, wait, we're chasing after that. A bailiff did nothing, and we're chasing after it. Are we crazy? Yeah, you are. But this is what you're going to have to do.
What are your options, man?
Okay. So let's just get to the point where all of the High Lords who can go to try to save Isana, attack the Vord Queen, now that they kind of know where she is, and Invidia is trying to get the information from Isana of how does she get the cure that's going to take away her need for the creature that's keeping her alive? And so Isana tells her that it was the mushroom, but gets the sword from Invidia in exchange. I mean, her intention of giving it to Araris, who's still awake in the Croach, but not really coming out of it yet, or just being able to take away a weapon from the enemy. And then Arya, Placida, Raucus, Phrygius, and they just kind of storm in through this place now that they know where they're going, and dispatch the Vord Queen. And everyone's like, "Oh, well, that was a lot easier." And then Isana's like, "That wasn't the Vord Queen. That was a fake." And the Vord Queen it bursts out of either the floor or the ceiling, and just and now I'm here, and now the ceiling, and I have all of these really scary versions of Vord, and half of the High Lords die immediately. I think Phrygius just gets his head cut off.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely looks a lot worse at first, right? Because one of them gets an arm amputated, one of them is locked outside fighting for his life, one of them does get right across his chest, and everything like that, and then even Arya basically gets taken out. But over the next couple of chapters, it kind of evolves that some of them are still alive, despite what it looked like initially. Because I remember reading that, and it was just holy shit, we're just gonna off all the High Lords at one time, and then we're still supposed to be able to fight this fight,
Yeah, of all these things, oh, they're dead, and then it cuts to the chapter with Aaron. It's wait, you're dead.
Yeah.
Fair.
I thought you were dead.
I thought I was dead too.
I was.
Yeah,
that was the point, right?
Lord Aquitaine also thought Aaron was dead, because Aaron kind of arranged for Aquitaine to be found by Invidia, and that whole messy divorce to happen is exactly as it did, because Aaron wanted Tavi instead. And yeah.
You sneaky little bastard. Yeah. Maybe don't appoint your enemy's best friend as your spy master,
Yeah, the Alera idea of Vidar is not quite up to snuff.
Right.
Oh, I think we glossed over the whole when the Gargants come. I think it's Graham who's like, bloody crows. And he just keeps going, bloody crows. And it's really big, bloody crows.
Yeah.
Graham is great.
Seconded.
Yeah. And then someone else comes up and it's like, bloody crows. It's like, that's what I said.
Yeah.
We see the last bit of fighting in the valley from Bernard and Aaron, and it's Bernard is it's my valley, and that's his. And then after that, he's just kind of waiting to hear back whether his wife lives or dies, because she went off to fight the Vord Queen.
As you do.
Yeah. Let's see, and Tavi has all of his people, and he's asking for help from Marat, giving a little bit of blood of can you create a fog and make sure that they can't move around, and you just do everything possible to hinder all movements. And between the ritualists and other fury crafters, there's a gigantic fog, and Marcus has no idea what's going on, or just trying to make sense of chaos of things that Tavi is just ordering people around and then disappearing, because that's his privilege.
Am I the bloody first lord or not?
Yeah, just do the thing and don't ask questions. Yeah, but there's in one of the steadholds that had been actually cleared out, there's all of the board that are in stasis and not doing anything, and therefore not creating demands on the Croach, and that's why it's so near to where the Queen is hiding and where Isana and all of the High Lords are fighting, and Araris breaks out of the Croach, and he is complete Iron Man to everything, because he had a dagger with him, and so he just spread it out all over his body very, very slowly.
His armor, but it's irrelevant.
Oh, it's the armor, or it's yeah, he had metal. He completely covered himself in metal.
He does the thing only the First Lord has ever done before.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was very weird. And Invidia is there with the Vord Queen, and the Vord Queen is don't make the mistake. Take your governorship as I offer it to you, and don't try to betray me, because Invidia can't fucking help it. She's traitoring back and forth. And Amara
I thought here's where she would choose humanity, but she didn't.
No, she does not. She chooses herself all the way.
She does
up
a
into the
little
end.
traitoring.
Yeah, and Amara had learned how to do the veils from Sextus,
Right.
And like that's how she was able to stay hidden while everyone else is doing the fighting inside the little hut. And she gets the pleasure of finally killing Invidia. And the Board Queen says, like, that was inconvenient, but oh well.
This is actually where the Board Queen realizes that she cared about Invidia. Like they had a she understands having a relationship more. Because she's like, I think she laments like she's gone. Like I'm sad. I'm mad about it, and I don't know why.
The Queen says she was uniquely useful for me, and Amara says she's still useful. You can eat her. Like this is the rationality that the Board Queen usually has, and now the Board Queen's not like this doesn't help her emotions that she doesn't know how to deal with, and so she's just going to kill Amara because she can eat Amara too. This all makes sense, and Aurorus Valerian says, you will not touch her and all of the fighting, and it's all very anime at this point. And Arya's trying to help. And then Isana has to be the one to hold down the fort for a minute because Aurorus is fighting other board, and then she's like does weird magic with the only thing she has available, which is a puddle of water.
That's a cool spinning water wheel that kills 6 metal crafting wards now. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she just like she uses water as projectiles in ways that like go straight through their brains.
It's like she has a super soaker.
Sure.
Yeah. Katai and Tavi start flying, chasing after the Board Queen after she leaves the hut that Aurorus chased her out of, and they go wandering around the Calderon Valley, making some Gyarados and Thana stuff very, very angry that they're chasing after. Katai gets a little injured, and so he just kind of drops her off in where Marcus and Magnus is, and she wakes up after someone heals her. Is like, where is he? What happened? And she just leaves immediately again.
She's like, wakes up, and this is where she's like, it talks to Marcus Fidelius, and it's like, what is the stupidest, most risky place you could go where you would be insane to Gyarados? They both say
right.
Yes, of course.
He's going to hit her with a mountain, a very angry mountain.
Yes.
Very insane angry mountain.
Is likely to kill everyone in the area. It's the stupidest thing possible.
But then so are the Void.
Yes. And the wind wolves are there, which means that
also, she wakes up like she's like, is he still alive? She's like, yes, and he's really pleased with himself.
Yes. Yeah, the wind wolves are there because of the rescue, and finally they're going to do this thing of trying to rescue Isana, but that means that Aldrich is there, can do some of the fighting, and Odiana, who can do some of the healing, and they need to build a wall because this is one thing that they've learned is working against the board. They need to, like, on this little steadhold that they are, they need to, like, make a trench and build a wall and make some heights, and to do this, they probably need the Antilus brothers, and so Odiana has to go heal them enough to move them around to get their help to do this, and it's a very weird form of logistics, and like we're just gonna not argue about any of our problems in the past because right now we just need to do this.
We're all on Team Humanity here.
Yeah.
She's all excited, like, "Oh, I've been wanting to see you kill Vord," and he's just like itching to draw.
She's very Eves. You nailed it. Yeah. And so Tavi and the Queen start fighting over who gets to challenge Gyarados and capture him as a Pokemon. And there's the colors and the lightning and all things like that. And there's the green lightning for the Vord Queen and purple for Katai.
I was going to say the Vord Queen brought her Master Ball, and the other two only had Ultra Balls.
Something, yeah. And it kind of works and it kind of doesn't. And basically, Tavi bumps the Vord Queen's elbow when she's trying to do it, and he leaves Katai to deal with the mess, to chase the Vord Queen all the way through the air back to Septimus's memorial, where he stabs her through the heart after she says, like, I'm ready to die the death of a Vord Queen or something like that. Like,
I'm over this shit.
Yeah.
Because he's like really hurt, and she's ready to die like a ward, which essentially like she tries to fight back, but she has no chance, and he kills her.
Yeah,
and then all hell breaks loose for the ward.
Yeah, because they all just kind of stop moving, or like they don't have the direction.
They just attack each other, and they get chaos. And
not able to do any of the responsiveness, and it's like, okay, so that's the end of the board war, and everyone's happy, and then it skips to the epilogue. Yeah, and the epilogue is when Tavi gets married officially by signing papers.
He's gained some pounds.
I mean, there's a lot of like good wrap up and world building and stuff. Like
there's like tons of openness that where I said this in pre-show. Like it's like it beggars for more books in the world.
Yeah, Alera is still there, even though she's been diffusing the entire book. But
this is her goodbye.
Yeah, they talk about
but I'll still be with you. Like you'll never talk to me again, but I'll still be with you and your children. Something. And she's like, how? What? Why? And she's gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Peace. Yeah. They talk about merit-based fury crafting and giving it to the Marat and the Canum, and they talk about rebuilding Alera, and
she tells them they got like 200 years before the Vorta coming.
Yeah. She says 100 to 150. I think she's like
150
is what I estimate you have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a small bit of an epigraph at the beginning. It has Gaius Tavarus Magnus 1 AV. Right. And so he's changed his name as
well, right? I think.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, this can't be his kid, because like 1 AV is like what?
Yeah. So he's taken the Canum name as his own, as his official name of Tavar, instead of Tavi or Octavian.
Mm-hmm.
And he's Magnus. I don't know, because why not?
Right. I named myself after the 4 bravest people that I know. So,
myself.
But right.
It felt it as, especially as he's describing, like, well, the political problems that he has, that he's just given the Canum a section of the land to have as themselves, and to have a high lord that is a Canum, and all of those problems that he's going to have there.
And
but he's also like, but
and the Icemen get the wall.
My name is the Canum name now, and so I'm accepting them, and fuck you if you don't agree. It's
right.
The senators trying to undermine him, and it's like, I think it's like he makes
that
some
won't bother that won't bother my digestion at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then them leasing the wall to the Icemen, so it's like it's still there, but they have reason to preserve it, so they won't attack it.
They'll
be
responsible for the upkeep. They were probably less inclined to break it
because he's getting fat.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the thing. They all were bringing him snacks to see if he'll eat something, so before he can fit into his thing.
Marcus Fidelius is bringing him snacks, like it's like a war between them. He brings better and better snacks, trying to get him to eat them.
Yeah, like little meat dumplings that he just can't help himself, and that's why he didn't fit into the tunic that was made for him last week.
That's funny.
He's turning into King Henry VIII.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. And he grew a beard because now he's not a legionnaire. He's allowed to, I guess.
Wizard, so.
True. Wizard.
Harry only has a beard when he gets depressed, then he goes into like hermit wizard mode.
Right.
Or lazy.
And he's building all of those roads and the highways, the
highways.
Yeah. A ring-shaped causeway circling about 40 miles out from the old capital could be completed in 3 to 5 years, the hub of the wagon wheel, as it were. And then what did he say about the more efficient map of new causeway routes? 25 years minimum. He's moving the capital to Appia because Alera Imperia is now a volcano.
Right. Even Tavi can't fix that one.
There's a perfectly good volcano we can throw the senators in. It's like, I don't think they'll fit.
He's like, I wouldn't mind having the capital there. I could throw all these people in it. It's really good.
Yeah.
And Aaron is taking care of all of the paperwork that Tavi doesn't have time for because that's Aaron's bureaucramancy.
Oh, he's doing the Veratus thing. It's like, it's just nod.
Both.
I already signed these and post-dated them 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Aaron is also his spy master, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Fidelius is his valet, but also his spy master. They're like both kind of, they're like sharing it, I feel like.
Well, I was going to say, I mean,
how's it going with that secret spy school I told you to start? Well, I can't tell you about that. I would have to kill you.
Excellent. He's going to develop an academy that has the Marat and then everything and the Fury Craft. And he's going to do the wizard school and he's going to do it right. He's so excited.
Fidelius, he was like, I like working with the Conan spy master. I forgot the name. Thank you.
Shocked.
Well, he says that when they're doing a thing, it's like, oh, but crows
You're
are good to work with professionals. Because he didn't even grunt. He was just went quiet when he needed him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then so Alera says goodbye, and Tavi goes to the meet everyone, and he's getting officially married. And then Courtship, like, it's by paperwork, you crazy people. What else would you do with these people? And
what's the wedding ceremony?
That's it.
Father, we sign a paper, and that's it.
Yeah.
Alerans.
Tavi had made Isana and Araris Count and Countess Rillwater, and that's what they get for getting a private ceremony of their own marriage. Is how dare they not invite anyone? Now they have responsibility and titles, and fuck you.
Try me again.
Do I get the impression here, though it's not said, but how they refer to them, that they're countess, that they kind of took over? Is Bernard more than just a count now? Has he been moved up to a lord?
I thought he was like a duke or something. Like
Bernard was already a count.
Yeah.
Right, that's what he's saying. Is in the same way Isana took over as the holder, did he now get higher?
Is he now a lord? It's like Reva. Maybe it's like taking over.
Yeah, because I think he called him Lord Uncle at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, Lord.
So Tavi says uncle, and then Amara says Lord Uncle, because now Amara can be funny about that. And Amara is 6 months pregnant, very happily solved by having been given some of the mushroom in the middle of all the battle that we just kind of skipped over.
Right.
And all of the children that they have adopted, including Masha.
Was teasing her brothers, and she's pregnant, and everything's hunky-dory. She's really happy.
And Tavi and Kitai had their baby, and like the baby was born like a week before the marriage, and his name is Gaius Desiderus Tavarus. Desiderus, the desired one. Let there never be a doubt in his mind that he was anything but welcome in their family.
And he's a hybrid, and who knows how long Marats apparently gestate for 6 months and humans 9. So I wonder exactly how long after this is. 3 months or 6 months?
No, but
just that
when they were having the conversation in the wagon, it was like, how much longer? And she said 6 months if it was a Marat, but we don't know because we're us. How long? How much longer this is going to take?
So she's known that she's brought 3 months pregnant, 6 months more for a 9-month pregnancy. So it's about the same, but they still didn't know because
we don't know how long after this is exactly. That's not really.
I thought they said this was about a year. Well, I mean, if it's 1 AV, theoretically, it's a year.
Yeah, it's 1 AV, right. But the baby is a week old as of the marriage.
So it's more than 9 months?
Probably not.
Well, it's 6 months after because...
Yeah.
Because if she was 3
so it was
months
probably
pregnant,
about the same.
Well,
actually,
we don't know if Marat gestation's the same, but
we know it's 6 months. That's when it's a Marat father, it's 6 months. When it's 2 Marat.
6 months after, at the point that she said it, because he was asking when was the birth going to happen.
Okay, and she was 3 months along.
Yeah.
So it's 3 months.
I guess I understood it at 6 months total. But yeah, maybe.
Either way, the baby came out. It doesn't have horns as far as we know.
Baby is healthy. Baby has a name. They get married. Everyone's happy, and it's the end of the story.
But not the end of the world, because goddamn, there's a lot of stuff I would like to. There are so many more stories that.
Well, that's because they saved the world, so obviously the world didn't end.
Whole multiverse here with like the universe and people traveling from planets to portals somehow, and like there's so much.
Why are you putting Stargates in this?
Because there are Stargates.
Let them chill on Earth.
They got to get back and forth somehow, man.
Got a lot better than the start of.
How'd they get there the first time? They walked into the mist and found fucking Alera the same way everybody else apparently came in, because that's how she describes it. It's like, you all came, like you're all. I'm the lost and found. I got all of you somehow.
Yeah.
They walked into the mist that was hiding the Stargate, and that's how they wound up on Alera.
Those things make noise, and you can feel yourself going through them. I think. I never watched Stargate, so I don't care, but I assume you feel it as you go through.
You got to ride the wormhole, so you definitely know that you went through the thing. But dude, they forgot they invented catapults and ever had Furies. You really think that they were like? Also, it was really fucking weird when we went through the Stargate and rode it like a roller coaster, you know. So,
well, no, if they're riding wormholes, then they're in the Dune world. They're on a Arrakis, whatever.
Holy cow! Okay. Anyway,
we did. Are we done? Are we done?
Only just.
Can we go home?
What are we just gonna break it down next week? Is that what we're doing?
Reactions, discussion. I don't know. I'm gonna shut up. I think
we can just we'll just shoot the shit and talk, I guess, and maybe talk about some questions we can ask Jim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone who's still listening to this, because oh my god, this was a lot. Thank you for all of our questions, because there's a lot of them. That's been great because we needed some more to do some testing, and the testing seems to have worked, and woohoo!
Yay!
Woo-hoo! Join our Patreon, come on Discord, shoot the shit, do gift wars.
Yeah, there's a lot of gift wars because slackers decide to say, what if I don't have to do the work? It's like, no, you have to do it.
Are you happy you did the work, Andreas?
I didn't. Okay, that's a gross misrepresentation of the situation.
I was fairly accurate as far as everything I'm aware of.
I don't see how.
You know what? I don't want to argue about this. I just really want to go pee. Can we just end there?
A very valid position.
Are you pregnant? You want just come on, go.
Yeah.